Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Konoha. Uchiha, Lie Flat. Chapter 21. Uchiha Jin, the corners of his mouth twitched. After listening to Nara Kazama's operation in front of him, he instantly felt like vomiting. Good guy, you have copied the practices of arms dealers 100%. Not only can you hide your strength, but you can also make a small fortune. The Nara clan is so treacherous. However, I like it. Thinking of this, he immediately spoke. No problem, I agree. It's better to act quickly, otherwise things will change if you wait too long. Immediately afterwards, both of them knew that time was urgent and immediately began to act independently. He took the scrolls provided by Nara Kazama to collect the bodies of the mist shinobi who were killed by the two, while Nara Kazama went to embezzle the 2 carts of supplies. Probably, in 3 minutes. After the two met again, Nara Kazama smiled and whispered. I took a quick look. A cart full of medicinal materials and a cart full of detonating charms. I made a rough estimate, and it's worth about 30 million taels. The cart I didn't take is kunai. It's basically worthless. I'll just keep the rest for business. And, don't worry, when I checked, there was no seal that moved the carriage. It was the secret technique of the Nara clan. I guarantee no one will notice anything is wrong. Hiss. Hearing what Nara said, Uchiha Jin was also a little excited. Good guy. It was indeed a war material. Just what their team was responsible for was worth so much. No wonder that in the last life, Yingzhong liked to make trouble everywhere, and this war fortune really made him rich. If you get used to it, you won't be able to stop. To know, even in this ninja world where strength is more important, money and materials are still very important. Especially Nara Kazama surprised him even more. Simply, there is no bottom line. It is completely different from the performance of the Nara clan in the original work. But if you imagine it, it seems normal. The performance in the original work is so beautiful, the will of fire, it looks like a fairy tale. But what about reality? This is a force, how can it be as perfect as the original? Even Sarutobi Hiruzen and Nabekage Danzo, whom people talked about in their previous lives, were able to reveal their true colors only because they were in the main plot. Families such as Ino Shikacho, Aburame, and Inuzuka, although shown in the original work, rarely appear in the main line. But, think about it. How can one be a naive good person who can truly form a family? Especially the Nara family are very clever. These families are just like the capitalists of previous generations. No matter how glamorous they appear on the surface, they are actually eating people without spitting out their bones. This is normal. As for Uchiha, perhaps he was born in the lineage of Sage of Six Paths Indra, so he was too strong from beginning to end and didn't even bother to learn these underhanded methods. Before the founding of Konoha, it was an era dominated by families. Uchiha relies on his strength to dominate one side and has no rivals except the Senju clan. But, it's a pity. With the establishment of Konoha, the major ninja clans began to join forces, coupled with the internal strife of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha doesn't understand Machiavellian tactics, and the top genius has been deceived by Hokage. Otherwise, genocide. What an international joke. After thinking about this, Uchiha remembered a sentence. Sir, times have changed. Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth twitched, and then he took a deep breath and spoke. How about this? We will share the detonating talisman equally, and you will be responsible for the medicinal materials. Anyway, your Nara clan is your clan's industry, so it will be easier for you to take action. If you want to split the money, wait until the war is over. Nara Kazama certainly has no objection to this. He took out a new scroll, put half of the detonating talisman in it, and then rolled it away and threw it to Uchiha Jin. Uchiha Jin didn't look at it and put it away casually. He believed in Nara Kazama. As the smartest Nara clan, there is no need to provoke him, Uchiha, over such a trivial matter. A few minutes later, Kudo Shin woke up. Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama also happened to rush over after dividing the spoils. As a counselor, Nara Kazama naturally had to refuse to explain this kind of thing. Captain, I'm very sorry. Although Mist Shinobi was repelled by us, Jin and I are of low strength. We tried our best and only killed 3 people. As for the supplies, we could only save 1 cart. We have sealed the bodies of the 3 Mist Shinobi ninjas in scrolls. As for the Ishikawa tree, hey. It's a long story. Quote. Nara Kazama is full of emotions. Of course, they also began to say that his performance talent is too good. A few words. Not only did they show the contribution of the two people, but they also put all the blame for the loss of supplies on Ishikawa Shu. In summary, it's all this idiot's fault. If he didn't listen to persuasion, he would have to be blindly confident. Otherwise, with the combined strength of 3 people, even if they cannot kill the Mist Shinobi Ninja, they can still barely protect themselves. But there is no way. This guy didn't have much strength, and he couldn't listen to the 2 people's advice, so he had to rush out stupidly and then was dealt with by Mist Shinobi. Now, he was directly seriously injured. The 2 of them relied on the will of fire to guard the supplies while barely rescuing this guy. Otherwise, this idiot would have been killed long ago. So to put it bluntly, it's this idiot's fault. Otherwise, everyone is guarding supplies together, how can there be so much trouble? Uchiha Jin was also shocked after hearing this. This is numb. As expected of Nara, if this guy hadn't spoken, he really wouldn't have known that he was so great. It turns out that I am also the successor of the will of fire. Boom. Kudo Shin, who had just woken up, immediately punched the tree in anger. This Ishikawa tree is such a waste. I have long noticed that this person is very arrogant, but I didn't expect him to be so ignorant. Don't you know that our mission is not to kill the enemy but to transport supplies? I know about this. When we get to the frontline camp, I will report to Mr. Miyamoto. Yes, Kudo Shin, I really believe it. Although he didn't see it with his own eyes and the contact with everyone was brief, he also understood Ishikawa Shu's character. This is indeed something he can do. Of course, more importantly, Ishikawa tree, not dead. When he wakes up and hands it over to the frontline camp, Anbu will naturally be able to pry the truth out of his mouth. Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama, there is no need to tell such lies. Of course, what's more important is that now that supplies have been lost, someone must take the blame. Otherwise, all 3 of them will be punished when the time comes. The village doesn't care about the reasons, only the specific results of things. But it's different now. Now that someone is taking the blame, even if they have no merit, at least they will not be punished. As for Ishikawa tree, no one cares about his life or death. None of the 3 people present had a good impression of him. We can even say, if he died, everyone would be even happier. Yes, Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama, those are really smart people. Kudo Nobun can survive a war, so he cannot be a fool. Also, precisely for this reason, if the 3 of them cooperate, the probability of everyone surviving in the future war will be very high. But at Ishikawa tree and things are different. This idiot who knows nothing about heaven and earth has really succeeded more than failed. Everyone will be tricked to death. In this case, naturally no one sympathized with him. 2 days later, the 3 people, carrying a cart of supplies, finally found a ship and arrived at the frontline camp on the evening of the 3rd day. Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama were randomly arranged into a tent. The 2 asked for a stretcher and carried Ishikawa Shu. After sending him to the medical camp, they came to their tent. Are you sure you can fool me with your rhetoric? Seeing that there was no one around, Uchiha Jin whispered, after all, 2 trucks of supplies were lost. Are you sure you won't hold us accountable? Don't worry, it's okay. Nara Kazama said with a smile. This kind of thing is very common, everyone does it. There have been no problems so far. Even if I don't find the person who took the blame, I will just give him a scolding. It will have some impact on future promotions. Especially in this kind of wartime, they are basically guilty of meritorious service, and it doesn't even have an impact on promotion. We have even found the person who took the blame this time, so there is no need to worry about this. Believe me, it's nothing. Not even a reprimand. It's just 2 trucks of supplies. For a war, what big deal is this? A truly cruel person dares to directly empty the frontline camp's storage warehouse, then wait for the enemy to attack and destroy the warehouse, and then directly report to the village that the enemy did it. This thing is called battle damage. The warehouses of the frontline camps usually store materials with a total value of no less than 5 billion taels. Hiss. Uchiha Jin looked confused. He had tried his best to underestimate the moral integrity of these people, but he never thought that he still overestimated it. Good guy. This operation is so familiar. But he still couldn't figure out why he hadn't heard anything about this after traveling through time for so long. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but speak. This is wrong. I am from Uchiha after all, and I am considered a wealthy family in our Konoha family. Why haven't I heard of this kind of operation? After hearing these words, Nara Kazama's eyes looked at Uchiha Jin, and his eyes were immediately filled with an inexplicable feeling. He frowned slightly. Obviously, he really didn't think about how to explain this to him for a while. See here, Uchiha Jin spoke directly. We have also experienced fighting together, and now we are teammates in the same team. If you have anything to say, just say it directly. Nara Fengjian looked a little helpless. But after thinking for a moment, he still said helplessly, "You have already said the reason yourself, because you are Uchiha." After hearing this, there is no need to say anything more. He suddenly realized, yes, Uchiha Jin, I do understand. He naturally knows better than anyone what Uchiha looks like. Brainless, stubborn, and proud. Things like these on the battlefield are basically unspoken rules among the top management of Konoha. Everyone does this. Regardless of the major wealthy families, even the Sarutobi family often does it. Moreover, he still eats a lot of food. As for the principle, it is quite simple. These supplies belong to the village and are allocated annually by the daimyo. Gone. It doesn't matter. I'm asking for it from the daimyo. It seems that it is precisely because of this reason that Uchiha seems to be out of tune with the village. Yes, if this matter were known to Uchiha, they would definitely not disdain to join in the conspiracy, but would directly make a big deal out of it to prove Uchiha's glory. Uchiha is proud, and it is precisely because of this pride that it is destined that other families in Konoha will never pee in the same pot in this life. In his previous life, he had always been a little confused. Although there are many scams in Uchiha, there is no need for Sarutobi Hiruzen to exterminate the clan. Although there are radicals in Uchiha, are those guys really capable of overthrowing the third Hokage's rule with their brains? Just kidding. Not to mention the large number of ninjas who are neutral. Ino Shikacho belong to the Hokage system. As long as Uchiha rebels, Tsunade and the other three will definitely side with Sarutobi Hiruzen. There are also Hokage Anbu, Danzo roots, perhaps even the Uchiha moderates, and even the clan leader Fugaku will choose to support Sarutobi Hiruzen. If this is the case, why do we want to exterminate the clan? Wouldn't it be nice to keep Uchiha? Even if it comes to war, it would be better to be sent to the front line to die. In his previous life, he had always thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen was mentally retarded, a typical brain problem. Now, he understands. The core reason is different concepts. Everything else is nonsense and just superficial appearances. No wonder Uchiha can't be a Hokage. If Uchiha really becomes Hokage, will everyone still be able to happily embezzle village assets? Thinking of this, he smiled bitterly. Okay, no need to say more. I finally understand why Uchiha cannot be a Hokage and why he is targeted by everyone. Senju Tobarama is right, what an evil Uchiha. Nara Kazama looked embarrassed. But, heard an Uchiha commenting on his own tribe as evil. His eyes were really opened. To be honest, he was a little surprised that Uchiha Jin could think so deeply after just a few clicks. Since when did Uchiha have such a brain? And, importantly, even after understanding everything, Uchiha Jin didn't seem to be angry. The last sentence is more like emotion. Obviously. Even though Nara's mind was spinning fast, he still couldn't figure it out for a while. In the end, I can only conclude that this teammate of mine is really not Uchiha at all. Ahem, this is what you thought about. It has nothing to do with me. You can't tell anyone else. Otherwise, I'm dead. Nara Kazama's face was full of bitterness. He really didn't expect that Uchiha Jin would be so smart. If he had known this, he would not have done this. Honestly, he really regretted it. If it was really because of his actions that Uchiha and the others were so determined to understand why they couldn't be Hokage and why everyone didn't support them. Hiss. Thinking of this, his scalp went numb. But, no idea. Now that things have come to this, what can he do? I can only pray to Uchiha Jin as much as possible to stop being such a big mouth. Don't worry, I won't tell you. Uchiha Jin said with a smile. I'm not a nosy person. It won't affect you, don't worry. It is a pity. Even though Uchiha Jin said this, Nara Kazama still frowned and kept sighing. Obviously, Uchiha Jin's guarantee didn't really reassure him. And, on the other side, Kudo Shin, led by a ninja, went straight to the frontline meeting room. Looking at Yuki Miyamoto in front of him, Nobu Kudo knelt down on one knee. Jonin-sama, I'm sorry. Our team encountered two elite mist shinobi teams. Team member Ishikawa Shu disobeyed the command, which resulted in the failure of the final mission and barely saved one truck of supplies. Please let Jonin-sama take a look at the specific situation and the corpses of mist shinobi members. Kudo Shin knelt down on one knee. He held up two scrolls with both hands, then lowered his head in reverence. Yuki Miyamoto frowned slightly, but still took the scroll away and started reading. After a while, after actually reading the mission scroll, he couldn't help but slap the table in anger. What did that guy named Ishikawa Shu learn in ninja school? Don't you even know the basic ethics of a ninja? You don't obey the command and attack blindly. Your strength is still low. Severely injured. Why doesn't he die? Miyamoto Yukie was extremely angry. Yes, he has been a jonin for so long that he has seen all kinds of ninjas, whether they are arrogant or timid. But as a ninja, obeying orders is the most basic thing. So, no matter how arrogant they are at ordinary times, when they are actually performing tasks, everyone will still obey orders. This was the first time in his life that he had seen someone like Ishikawa Shu. More importantly, this was his first time as a frontline commander, and Ishikawa Shu gave him such a big surprise. You can imagine, even if he can make a contribution in this war, Ishikawa Shu will become a stain on him. How do you expect him to have a good temper for this kind of thing? If this guy was from a wealthy family, maybe he, who was born as a commoner, would give him a little face. But, Ishikawa Shu is just a commoner, so he has nothing to worry about. Taking a deep breath, he spoke immediately. Sir Anbu, please come here. Kudo Shin Chunin, just give the Ishikawa tree to Anbu's people later. As for this mission, there is no reward or punishment. Next, let's make meritorious service. After handing over the Ishikawa tree to Anbu, your team can rest and wait for the next mission. Fine. After listening to Miyamoto Yukie's words, Kudo Nobu breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, I finally got through it this time. Thinking of this, Kudo Shin scolded Ishikawa Shu in his heart, and he couldn't help but feel lucky that the other two teammates were reliable. Not only did they save a truckload of supplies, they even found someone to take the blame. As expected of someone from a wealthy family, his brain is very powerful. Probably, 10 minutes later, an Anbu wearing a fox mask appeared, and Kudo Shin followed him all the way to the medical camp, and officially handed over the unconscious Ishikawa Shu to Anbu. After doing all this, he returned to the team camp tiredly. After he came back, he lay directly on the bed and rubbed the center of his brow with fear on his face. After looking at the two people in front of him, he smiled and began to speak. You guys, don't worry. Ishikawa Shu has been handed over to Anbu. Our mission will not include credit or punishment. Next, have a good rest. Just wait for the new mission. When Nara heard this, her face looked as if it was true. Uchiha Jin also breathed a sigh of relief. But this also made him completely understand that what he had just considered was right. The demise of the Uchiha clan is really related to ideas. To put it bluntly, it's still profit. If Uchiha cannot change his mind and become the same as the light, then Uchiha's future in Konoha will still follow the timeline of the original work. Time passes slowly. In the past few days, no tasks have been issued. After Uchiha Jin gets up every day, he lies directly outside the frontline camp on a piece of grass with a very beautiful environment. Get some sun. As for practicing, he had given up completely since he got the system plugin. You can become stronger anyway, wouldn't it be nice to lie down? Evening. Nara Kazama, who came back from practicing outside, looked at Uchiha Jin lying on the grass. Her eyes were really hard to describe. He came over and sat next to Uchiha Jin. Jin, you are really strange. We have been on the front line for several days. As long as everyone has no missions during this period, they are basically practicing non-stop. Everyone hopes to increase their strength as much as possible before encountering the enemy. Why do you think you are so leisurely every day? Those who didn't know better thought you were here for an outing. Nara Kazama looked confused. He really couldn't figure out what Uchiha Jin was thinking. The closer you get, the fuzzy it becomes. Every time I feel like I understand Uchiha Jin, but he will tell you the next second. You think too much. The only thing he was sure of now was that Uchiha looked nothing like Uchiha. No matter as a person or as a person, he is incompatible with orthodox Uchiha. This gave Nara Kazama a headache. Yes, he is a traditional Nara. Although he seems to be very lazy at ordinary times, that's just because he is bored. Because no matter what it is, he can basically see through it at a glance. Over time, it becomes boring. Normally, he looks lazy. But since encountering Uchiha Jin, no matter how many brain cells he expends, he has never been able to give an accurate definition of him. This makes Nara Kazama very distressed. He has been trying to persuade himself that there is no need to worry too much about this kind of thing. Anyway, he and Uchiha Jin were just forced into a team, and they weren't even friends at all. After all, a cannon fodder team like them would not cultivate such a thing as bonds. Only, as a Nara, he refused to admit defeat in his heart. So, the last few days, he has been trying to get close to Uchiha Jin, trying to really see through the man in front of him. But, only after getting really close did I realize that this guy was actually lazier than me. At least he still practices for a while every day, but since leaving Konoha until now, he has never seen Uchiha Jin practice. This naturally made him very curious. You must know that Uchiha Jin's performance against the enemy a few days ago was not weak. At least, it definitely meets the standards of Class A. He guessed that Uchiha Jin wanted to hide his strength, and he could almost guess the reason. The only thing I can't figure out is how did such a lazy guy achieve this level of cultivation? Seeing that nothing was wrong now, he naturally started to test. And, on the other side, Uchiha Jin, who was lying on the ground, looked at Nara Kazama in front of him, but his eyes were full of fear. In response to his temptation, he did not answer directly, but instead spoke in a quiet tone. I'm also very curious about you. According to the strength you have shown, it will definitely be no problem to enter Class A. So why do you behave like such a loser and then come to a cannon fodder class like Class B? Also, Ino Shikacho. This is the iron rule of your 3 tribes. Our class is not without people from these 2 tribes. Why did you get into the same team as me, Uchiha? How about it? Nara-san is very curious about me, and I am also very curious about you. Can you please tell me? Nara fell silent in the wind. He didn't know how to answer Uchiha Jin's question. But, about this, Uchiha Jin didn't ask further, he just used this to tell Nara Kazama that everyone has their own secrets. Since our relationship has not reached that point, there is no need to explore other people's secrets. After seeing the other party's silence, he continued to bask in the sun. Until, the sky is filled with sunset. Even though it wasn't as warm as the midday sun, he still liked this relaxing feeling. It's not like in the village, where there are various calculations going on every day. Tired, seeing that it was getting late, he stood up and yawned, but when he turned around to go back, he saw Nara Kazama next to him. Why haven't you left yet? Uchiha Jin looked confused. Nara couldn't help but raise her head when she heard this. After looking at Uchiha Jin for a moment, he said in a faint tone. My father's name is Nara Lumming, and he and Nara Shikaku are brothers. But he failed in the competition for the position of clan leader, and then died in a mission 5 years ago. Before his death, my father once told us brothers that we should never become geniuses in this life. It would be better to live a mediocre life. But my 2 brothers didn't listen. They were genius ninjas in the family since they were young, and then they died one after another in the past few years. I listened, but I kept acting mediocre. So, I survived. It is true that Ino Shikacho do not differentiate between each other, but I still gave up on my own initiative. Because father will never lie to me. Uchiha Jin, his face calm. Just looking at Nara Kazama, his brain started to work rapidly. He really didn't expect that Narakazama would be in this situation. As for lying, impossible. As a traditional Nara, I would not tell such a lie that would be exposed immediately. After a long silence, he spoke quietly. I can't work hard. I can't stand hardship. I'm a loser Uchiha. If I suddenly work hard and even become a genius, some people will not be able to eat. As a cannon fodder ninja, you must be worthy of the role of trash. You are a smart man, you don't need me to say anything more. Narakazama smiled. Yes, he doesn't need to say much, he can think for himself. He understands Uchiha's situation, if only he understands this. He can naturally guess some of Uchiha Jin's thoughts. You're very successful at pretending. Narakazama said with a smile. I have never paid attention to you in the past few years in school. I was arranged here by Nara Shikaku. He wanted me to see what kind of person you are. If my guess is correct, it should be related to the 3 dead Uchiha. My clan uncle should be keeping an eye on you. But don't worry, the Nara family strives for stability and will not easily provoke enemies to the family, let alone enemies like Uchiha. Even after it's confirmed, he will invest in you secretly. The way the Nara people behave is they don't put all their eggs in one basket. Uchiha Jin, his eyes narrowed slightly. He was indeed right in guessing that what he said was indeed not hidden from Nara Shikaku. This gave him a murderous intention, but he quickly hid it. The Nara family has a long heritage. Although it is not as good as Uchiha, it is not easy to provoke. Not to mention, just like what Narakazama said, Nara Shikaku has no ill intentions towards him, otherwise he would have exposed him directly in the Hokage office. Oh, I got it. Uchiha Jin took a deep breath, and then without saying anything else, he headed directly towards the frontline camp. Narakazama followed him and couldn't help but complain after a long time. Jin, are you really an Uchiha? Narakazama said. Your behavior is nothing like an Uchiha. When you were born in the hospital, was it possible that you were given the wrong child? You look more like Nara instead. Uchiha Jin, the corners of his mouth twitched. He really didn't expect that Narakazama would say that. But thinking about it carefully, it seems that this is really the case. After shaking his head helplessly, he spoke in a faint tone. You're overthinking it, I have Sharingan. Okay, let's go back. There is no need to hide something as small as this. After all, with Narakazama's brain, he could guess it even without telling him. Of course, more importantly, he really wants to win over Narakazama. This guy is not bad and can definitely be considered a genius. The key is, your brain is easy to use. With him by his side to make suggestions, he will be able to move more steadily in the future. Certainly, there is plenty of time, no need to rush. And, on the other side, hearing Uchiha Jin's words, he also looked as if he meant it. Evening. The night is as dark as ink, and the full moon hangs high. It was quiet in the frontline camp. Except for the patrolling ninjas, almost no one was walking around. The Uchiha Jin team's tent now has an uninvited guest. According to Anbu's investigation, Ishikawa Shu did not obey the command, which led to the failure of the 7th team's mission. The facts are conclusive and cannot be refuted. However, considering that we are in a war period, Ishikawa Shu is allowed to return to his original team to serve his crime. This is your new mission, take action immediately tomorrow morning. The ninja next to Miyamoto Yukie handed a mission scroll to Kudonobu, and then turned around and left. There was silence in the camp. Everyone looked at the Ishikawa tree in front of them and didn't know what to say for a while. Paralyzed. Got this thing back again. Everyone's expressions were basically not pretty. After all, everyone was already at odds with each other about reporting Ishikawa Shu. How will their team cooperate with the next action? Kudo Shin's face was gloomy. Although he was very unhappy, he really couldn't refuse the arrangement from above. After glancing at Ishikawa Shu, he spoke coldly. I hope you can remember the lessons learned this time and stop causing trouble for everyone. There are still tasks tomorrow, so everyone should have a good rest. After finishing speaking, Kudonobu lay down on the folding bed and rested. Uchiha Jin and Narakazama looked at each other, shook their heads helplessly and went to rest. Ishikawa's face looked ugly, especially when looking at Narakazama and Uchiha Jin, their eyes were filled with anger and resentment. Yes, he didn't think he was at fault, but thought it was because these two people didn't cooperate well with him. I am one of the top 3 in my class, how could I be saved by 2 cranes? A bunch of ants. It must be their fault, otherwise how could I fail? Just wait for me, I won't let you go. Inside the camp, it was extremely quiet. Everyone else has fallen asleep now, only Uchiha Jin is lying on the bed, staring at the night outside through the small window in a daze. He had a look of emotion on his face. Cannon fodder simply has no human rights. Think about the training plan of Class A in Konoha. Not only does Jonin serve as a guide, but they also have to experience grabbing bells, doing D-level tasks in the village, etc. Only when the bond is really developed can you really practice C-level tasks. And, what about Class B? No hair at all. With a cannon fodder Chunin as a guide, there is no need to even think about grabbing bells or anything like that. If you still can't get the bell, will you be sent back to study? I want to eat shit. A cannon fodder team like them is here to die. There is no bond between them, and there is no trust at all. Instead, there are all kinds of intrigues. Thinking about the bad things he had encountered every day since he left the village, he couldn't help but shake his head with emotion. What a headache. It is extremely difficult for a cannon fodder team like this to survive until the end of the war. What about now? Uchiha Jin felt a severe headache just thinking about sending this piece of shit like Ishikawa tree back again. The next day, early in the morning. After a few people got up and had a simple breakfast, Kudo Shin spoke directly. Our mission this time is to go to the 27th garrison point on the left side of the Kingdom of Whirlpool. We need to closely monitor the situation above the sea during this trip, and send a signal immediately as soon as Mist Shinobi is discovered. Then find a way to delay the enemy and buy time for the base camp. Set off. After briefly introducing the mission, Kudo Shin took the lead and headed outside the frontline camp. Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama looked at each other, and then naturally followed behind Kudo Nobu without any nonsense. Only, Ishikawa tree. He could naturally feel that he was incompatible with this team. But he was so proud that he didn't look for the reason from himself. Instead, he directly complained about his teammates. I think it's these guys who are holding us back, otherwise he would have already made a lot of contributions when we encountered Mist Shinobi last time. Maybe he could change his ninjutsu in the frontline camp in the next few days. But, what now? Not only did he get nothing, but he was investigated by Anbu. It's all the fault of these guys. He glanced at the 3 of them with malicious eyes, snorted coldly, and followed them. A group of 4 people, very fast. After all, they are all ninjas, so naturally they cannot walk, but use the big trees in the forest to move quickly. Probably, half a day later, everyone arrived at the mission site. There was only a simple wooden house built on the trunk of a thick tree branch. Staying in this wooden house, you can see the situation above the sea through the layers of leaves without revealing your position. Okay, be careful. We will be divided into 2 groups during the day and night. Uchiha and I will be in one group, and Nara Kazama and Ishikawa will be in one group. Uchiha Jin and I will rest now, and you 2 are responsible for keeping an eye on us. At night, we will change shifts. Of course, no one would have any objections to Kudo Shin's arrangement. Even Ishikawa Shu just nodded coldly. Obviously. Having suffered a loss once, he at least did not dare to blatantly refuse. Seeing this, Uchiha Jin naturally stopped talking nonsense. He just gave Nara Kazama a look, and after seeing him nod slightly, he returned to the cabin to rest with confidence. Yes, he really didn't believe Ishikawa Shu. The cold and resentful look in this guy's eyes when he looked at everyone last night is still flashing in his mind. Naturally, you have to be more careful about this person. Nara Kazama is naturally not stupid. Even if Uchiha Jin didn't speak, he understood everything instantly. The days passed day by day, and 6 days passed in the blink of an eye. Only, everything is calm. They still didn't notice Mist Shinobi's presence, which made them a little confused. If they had not encountered a sneak attack by Mist Shinobi before, they would have thought that the intelligence in the village was wrong. Is Mist Shinobi coming yet? Especially, Uchiha Jin. He felt something was wrong in his heart. Unlike others, he knew the actual situation. Shisui specifically told him that Mist Shinobi had declared war on Konoha. And his memories from his previous life also told him that Mist Shinobi did participate in the 3 wars, and it was at this time that the 8 inner gates worn by Might became famous. So, the calmer the situation became, the more uneasy he felt. At the time of handover, when it was time to hand over again, he specifically approached Nara Kazama. Be careful, I feel something is wrong. There will definitely be a tough battle ahead. Be careful, don't die. Nara Kazama was stunned for a moment. However, he reacted quickly and nodded solemnly to express his understanding. Obviously, he is not stupid. Since Uchiha Jin said this, he must have noticed something. The 2 of them had been in contact for a long time, and of course he was willing to believe Uchiha Jin's judgment. This day, late at night, just when Uchiha Jin was sleeping, Nara Kazama woke him and Kudo Shin. There is a situation. It's foggy in the woods, I suspect it's the Mist Shinobi technique. After Kudo Shin and Uchiha got up, they quickly looked outside the wooden house. Indeed, just like Nara Kazama said, the entire forest was completely occupied by thick fog. Uchiha Jin frowned slightly when he saw this. They did not see any unusual movement on the sea. According to common sense, Mist Shinobi cannot survive. But there is really no way to explain the thick fog in front of me. After all, at this time of year, fog would not occur under normal circumstances. Could it be a coincidence? Kudo Shinobi asked. We have been monitoring the sea during this period. How could Mist Shinobi get under our noses? Ishikawa Shu's face was filled with disdain, and he immediately shrugged and spoke in a strange tone. Haha, what a fuss. I just told Nara that a little fog can't mean anything. But if people don't listen, there's nothing I can do about it. Nara Fengjin's expression remained unchanged. He didn't care at all about the 2 people's doubts and disbelief. All he really cares about is Uchiha Jin. Yes, although in this cannon fodder team, talking about bonds is pure nonsense. But along the way, the 2 of them developed some friendship. What's more important is that both of them know each other's secrets. In this case, it can at least be regarded as an alliance of interests. Compared with the other 2 people, they can still achieve basic trust in each other. I'm going to investigate, Nara Fengjin said. Jinjin, do you want to go? Nara Kazama chose to ignore Ishikawa Tree's strange aura. Turn around. He looked directly at Uchiha Jin. Uchiha Jin frowned slightly, but after thinking for a moment, he agreed. Okay, let's go and have a look. Otherwise we won't be able to sleep well tonight. Immediately afterwards, the 2 of them looked at Kudo Shin. He is the captain and his approval is required. Kudo Shin narrowed his eyes slightly, glanced at the 2 of them, and then nodded. Okay, I agree. I also felt something was wrong, so I went to investigate. Ishikawa Shu, are you going? Kudo Shin, not stupid. Although he didn't understand why Nara Kazama and Uchiha made such a judgment, he knew one thing after having experienced the war. Rich people are different from common people. They have more means and can receive more information. Since both of them made this judgment at the same time, it would be better to believe it or not. As for Ishikawa Tree, he didn't bother to care about him. Does life or death have anything to do with him? That's why he did not use the authority of the captain, but used a discussion tone. Ishikawa Shu didn't understand this and immediately shrugged. I don't think a mere thick fog can mean anything. I don't want to suffer at night. Kudo Shin nodded. Too lazy to pay attention to Ishikawa's strange mood, he immediately turned back to look at Nara Kazama and Uchiha Jin. Let's go, Uchiha Jin said. Nara Kazama nodded. After the 3 of them reached an agreement, they immediately went quietly into the depths of the thick fog. In the forest, they walked very carefully and did not make the slightest sound. Stop, something's not right ahead, Nara Kazama said. Uchiha Jin and Kudo Nobu stopped immediately after hearing this. Although they didn't notice anything, since Nara Kazama spoke, they naturally chose to believe it. After all, being from the Nara clan, he must have his own secret skills. Nara Fengjin made seals with both hands. Shadow head neck binding technique. Whoosh, a dark shadow formed under him, and his speed was even faster than ultimate, and he rushed forward. Probably, after a while, Nara Kazama spoke in a solemn voice, a standard Mist Shinobi team, and I controlled one of them. Do it, Uchiha Jin said coldly. Kill the other 2 people and leave the one who is controlled. We need to pry more information out of his mouth. Kudoshin and Nara Kazama certainly have no objection to this. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha Jin stopped talking nonsense and just rushed forward, with Kudonobu naturally following closely behind. In just 5 seconds, Uchiha Jin saw 3 figures. He didn't even bother to use ninjutsu and just took out a kunai. It was thrown out and pierced the throat of a mist shinobi. "Enemy attack!" shouted a mist shinobi. But before he could actually find his enemy, Uchiha appeared behind him and slit his throat with another kunai. 10 seconds later, Kudo Nobukai rushed over and looked at the 2 mist shinobi corpses in front of him, and couldn't help but feel chills all over his body. He looked happy. Fortunately, he listened to the words of the 2 people, otherwise he would have been touched at the garrison point, and maybe he would have been sleeping at that time. Thinking about this outcome, he felt cold all over. Just when Kudo Shinobi was in a daze, Nara Kazama also rushed over and directly broke the limbs of the controlled mist shinobi, and then dispersed the Nara clan's family secrets. Say it, how many people did mist shinobi send out this time? How did you get here? What's your plan? Quote. It's just a pity. This mist shinobi ninja was quite tough talking. He just looked at everyone hatefully and then said disdainfully, "I won't tell you, just kill me." Nara Fengjian looked calm. He ignored the mist shinobi ninja and looked at Uchiha and Jin instead. "I am not of the Yamanaka clan, and there is no way to directly retrieve memories. But I, the Nara clan, also have other ways to achieve the same effect. Even though the scene is a bit bloody, Lord Jin and Captain, you should stay away from it for now." When Uchiha Jin heard the words, he understood immediately and walked directly not far away. He knew that they were going to use secret techniques. Naturally, this kind of family inheritance cannot be seen by others. What he's saying now is just for the occasion. Bloody. As ninjas, how could they be afraid of this? Kudoshin is not stupid either. Although he didn't react for a while, when he saw Uchiha Jin moving, he naturally followed him. The 2 of them walked not far away, and Kudo Shinkai asked. "What Kazama said should have other meanings, right?" Uchiha Jin nodded. "He is going to use the family's secret technique. It is not convenient for us to see him." Kudo Shin's face was astonished. No wonder, although he is a chunin and is the leader of this team. But in fact, now he feels more and more that he is not very capable. On the contrary, both Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama are stronger than him. As expected of him, he is a son of a wealthy family. These are not the geniuses of the family, they are just losers from Class B. Certainly, nor was he jealous. He knows the shortcomings of being a civilian, and no one can change this. On the contrary, he will try his best to have a good relationship with the 2 of them, so that he can survive to the greatest extent. As for Ishikawa Shu, he didn't even bother to speak. Because he knows that guy won't live long. Time passes slowly. About 10 minutes later, Nara Kazama walked over. But at this time, his face began to look very ugly. The situation is very bad. According to what the mist shinobi ninja said, they hid in the country of Whirlpool half a month ago. At this time, there are 4,000 ninjas hidden in the kingdom of Whirlpool. Hiss. Hearing this sentence, everyone's scalp was numb. Even Uchiha Jin is pale now. Although he was confident that he had some abilities, he was not confident that he could protect himself under the siege of 4,000 ninjas. What should I do? Kudo Shin panicked. Nara Kazama also had a gloomy look on his face, and said angrily, "The most terrible thing is that before there is no order, you can't even retreat on your own initiative, because doing so is equivalent to defecting." Yes, he was also panicked. These are 4,000 ninjas. His little hidden ability has no effect at all in the face of such a huge number. It can consume him to death. The news was like a big mountain, weighing him down so much that he couldn't even breathe. He didn't care too much and looked directly at Uchiha Jin. Jin, the situation is very bad. There is no point in hiding at this time. We must fight desperately now. Is there anything you can do? After hearing this, Kudo Nobu also looked at Uchiha Jin. In the face of this fatal news, he didn't care that he was the captain. Being able to survive is the key. Thinking of this, he immediately spoke directly. "From now on, I will obey your orders, Lord Jin. From my side, I am completely obedient." Yes. He knew how much he weighed, and if it was normal times, he would still be able to act like a captain. But in the face of this crisis, he had already lost his bearings. He knew that Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama were at least much stronger than him. So, he was quite sensible and straightened his position. Uchiha Jin frowned slightly. Faced with the dangerous situation in front of him, even he felt numb and naturally had no interest in hiding his strength. 4,000 ninjas. It's still important to save your life. His brain began to work rapidly, and he spoke directly after a moment. Since you trust me, I won't talk nonsense. Send a flare. After finishing speaking, he looked at Kudo Shin. Kudo Shin was stunned. There was cold sweat on his forehead, but he still managed to explain. There are 4,000 ninjas over there at Mist Shinobi. Wouldn't sending a signal flare expose our position? Nara Fengjian hesitated a little. But he still stood on Uchiha Jin's side. Since we choose to trust Lord Jin, our orders should be implemented instead of questioned. In combat, this is fatal. Kudo Shin naturally understood this explanation. Only, sending flares in this situation still made him hesitate. After all, facing 4,000 ninjas, if his position was exposed, he would break out in cold sweat just thinking about it. He was scared. Just when he chose to remain silent and Nara tried to persuade, Uchiha stopped him directly. Then he looked at Kudo Shin and started to explain directly. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are too many enemies, 4,000 ninjas. We cannot let Mist Shinobi prepare, otherwise the situation we face will be worse. Fire the flares directly to prepare the frontline camps so they can hold off more Mist Shinobi. The more Mist Shinobi the frontline camp holds back, the greater our hope of survival. Otherwise, the frontline camp will collapse without causing huge damage to the Mist Shinobi. Then we will have to face those 4,000 Mist Shinobi ninjas. And after launching the signal bomb, we left as quickly as possible and found a secret place to hide. Then, fight guerrillas. Keep moving throughout the entire Vortex Kingdom, never staying at any point for too long. Hide when you encounter a large group, and kill Mist Shinobi when you encounter a small group. Only in this way can we delay it longer. I believe in the village's intelligence capabilities. The village will quickly find out something is wrong with the situation here. We can only wait until the village reacts and sends a large force to arrive, then our crisis will be over. This is the best way I can think of. Nara Kazama reacted the fastest. After only half of hearing it, I knew that Uchiha Jin's method was their best method at this stage. Kudo Shin is not stupid either. He immediately accepted it and said quickly, I agree. Very good, it seems we have reached an agreement. Uchiha Jin nodded, and then said again, just like Kazama said, when we encounter a real battle, I don't have time to explain. So through this, I hope the captain understands that. Since you choose to believe me, I hope the captain can believe it to the end. Otherwise, if you question or hesitate even for a moment during the battle, all three of us will die. Kudo Shin nodded solemnly. At this moment, he completely listened. He immediately gave various assurances and apologized for the doubts just now. Nara Kazama couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he saw this. Fine, although this is just a cannon fodder team, there is no bond between them. Fortunately, Uchiha Jin is a qualified commander. In just a few moments, trust was built up. From this perspective, the chance of survival is greater. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at Uchiha again, and he couldn't help but complain in his heart again. Is this really an Uchiha? No, more like Nara. That's all. The seventh team, which had been reorganized and relaunched, directly detonated the flare in their hands under the guidance of Captain Uchiha Jin. Whoosh! The flare shot up into the sky, bursting into bright light. Then the three people who had discussed in advance quickly sneaked towards the left without making any sound. As for Ishikawa Tree, who is this? Feel sorry. Their team was so neat that they all, accidentally, forgot about him. Probably, 10 minutes later, more than 50 Mist Shinobi ninjas, led by one of the 7 Mist Shinobi, and a user of blunt swords and kabukiru, Tongsao Yabeman, directly surrounded this small forest. Lord Jonin, confirmed by the sensing ninja, the signal flare launch location is here. We found Mist Shinobi Team 27 here. All of them are now confirmed to be dead. 2 of them were stabbed to death by kunai, and the other one had injuries from torture. It is now basically confirmed that Konoha has discovered our mist shinobi's plan. After checking, there is a Konoha outpost 500 meters to the left. He is a wild bait man with ferocious eyes. After listening to the introduction from his subordinates, he immediately issued the order without any hesitation. Go to that Konoha garrison and see if there are any clues. Everyone in Mist Shinobi responded with a bang. Immediately afterwards, the group of people moved very fast and soon arrived at post number 27. With a casual wave of his hand, the Mist Shinobi team rushed in, and then the sleeping soundly Ishikawa tree was pulled out and thrown to the ground. Who I am, where am I, what am I going to do? Ishikawa Shu, who looked confused, opened his eyes in great displeasure. Then, after looking at the more than 50 Mist Shinobi ninjas in front of me, I almost peed my pants out of fear. Ishikawa tree was trembling, her tone was trembling, and she couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. Yes, even in front of Uchiha Jin and the others, he acted like the boss and the second child, but he knew in his heart that even if Uchiha and the others felt unhappy, they would not dare to actually kill him. But it's different now. The Mist Shinobi ninjas in front of him were the ones who really dared to kill him. And, on the other side, the Tongsao Yabayman glanced at the Ishikawa tree and felt disgusted in his heart. As a ninja, he looked down on trash like Ishikawa tree the most. No nonsense. He walked up to Ishikawa Shu and slapped him hard. The beating caused blood to spurt out of his mouth and 2 of his teeth were broken. If you are sensible, tell me the truth. Who are your teammates and where are they now? Tell me everything you know. Ishikawa Shu. He is so stupid, looking at such a ferocious Tongsao Yabayman, and the Mist Shinobi with fierce eyes all around. All the lofty ideals he had in Konoha were immediately extinguished at this moment, and he immediately explained everything he knew honestly. In other words, Mist Shinobi is not interested. Otherwise, if he peed his pants at the age of 3 and peeped at a widow taking a bath at the age of 5, he would probably have said it without hesitation. After hearing this, Tongsao Yabayman naturally waved his hand casually. One of the ninjas stepped forward and took out a kunai. Ishikawa Shu was stunned. He couldn't help but speak immediately. I've confessed everything, why do you still want to kill me? Spare my life. ... Mist Shinobi, who was about to take action, couldn't help but look at the wild baitman after hearing this. Although he looked down on ninjas like Ishikawa Shu, for such ninjas who were willing to rebel, everything still needed to be opened by Tongsao Yaito. Hearing this, Tongsao Yabayman couldn't help but smile disdainfully. What's the use of keeping such a useless Konoha genin? We Mist Shinobi don't need waste. Kill him. Hearing these merciless words, Ishikawa Shu was completely stunned. This is wrong. He was willing to rebel against the village, so why did he still kill people? At this moment, he really regretted it. Thinking about his short life, he couldn't help but think of those teammates who he had never paid attention to. Before, he was resentful and thought he was superior. But when it actually rains, you will know who is without an umbrella. Those teammates he looked down upon were still alive and well, but he was about to die. Now he couldn't help but remember, if he hadn't been so proud. If you had made friends with everyone before, not being so arrogant, and even chose to leave with Nobukudo just now, would your ending be different? But it's too late. Before he could fully think through the problem, the kunai in the hands of the Mist Shinobi ninja tore his throat directly. Scarlet blood spattered, and he felt it became increasingly difficult to breathe, and his vision began to blur. He died, and die worthless. Yes, in fact, his death came a little late. He was effectively dead long before he deserted the team, alienated his teammates, and pissed off everyone. The only difference is whether you die early or die late. Unless, his strength is heaven-defying. But it's a pity. Uchiha, the most powerful person in Konoha, after offending all the families in Konoha, eventually led to the annihilation of the entire family. He is just a civilian ninja with no backing and no strength. Do you have this qualification? So, he must die. But at this time, no one in Mist Shinobi cared about him at all, and turned to look at the leader, Tongsao Yabayman. Nara, Uchiha, it seems that our ninja team did not die unjustly. Leave 3 teams to hunt down Team 7 of Konoha, and leave 1 sentient ninja to cooperate. Others, use all your strength to attack Konoha's frontline camp. Send a general attack signal to our base. Since we have been exposed, we cannot leave Konoha time to prepare. After finishing speaking, Tongsao Yabayman gave the order, and Mist Shinobi's signal flare was launched into the air, bursting into bright light. Many Mist Shinobi no longer hid their figures, and just went straight towards Konoha's front camp. As for the 3 remaining Mist Shinobi teams, under the command of the Sensing Ninja, they directly pursued Uchiha Jin and others. Frontline camp. Miyamoto Yukie sat in the big tent, looking at the map hanging on the wall in a daze. He frowned slightly. The whole person's face was solemn, and his eyes were full of thinking. This was his first time as a frontline commander, so he naturally felt that the burden on him was extremely heavy, so he did not dare to relax at all. Even though it was already late in the morning, he still felt sleepless and always feared that he might not command properly. No way. As a civilian ninja, this opportunity is not easy for him. If you don't seek merit, it's hard to seek no fault. He doesn't need to be able to defeat Mist Shinobi, as long as he can withstand the difficult times and hold on until the moment when the Konoha army arrives, he will be considered successful and retire. And with this achievement, he is qualified to enter the top ranks of Konoha. This is also his biggest wish in this life. But, it's a pity. He still doesn't know that his goal will never succeed. If there was a real opportunity to perform meritorious deeds, which turn would it be for him, a civilian ninja? To put it bluntly, he took the blame. Konoha had long known about Mist Shinobi's declaration of war through spies. It was only because of the anxiety on other fronts that not enough ninjas could be mobilized for a while, so he, a scapegoat, brought a group of Konoha cannon fodder to resist. To put it bluntly, Konoha had no hope that he and a group of cannon fodder could handle it. As long as it can buy Konoha a little time to mobilize Konoha's real powerhouses, it will be enough for Konoha. As for what happened afterwards, if he dies, forget it. Even if he survives, he is doomed to take responsibility for the failure. In the true sense of the word, if a commoner has not joined the Hokage family, he is destined to be unable to become a high-level official. While he was thinking, a ninja rushed in. Miyamoto Yuki's eyes frowned slightly, but before he could get angry, the ninja spoke first. Lord Jonin, it was observed that the emergency signal flare was still the highest level of red. The location where the signal was sent was found to be post number 27. Hiss. When Miyamoto Yukie heard these words, he couldn't help but take a breath of air. Finally come. He knew that his biggest test would officially begin from now on. Not paying attention to the ninja in front of him, he quickly walked out of the command tent and saw the red signal flare in the sky. He looked ugly. This is the highest level of flare that proves the situation is truly urgent to ultimate. But, he couldn't figure it out. What happened to deserve this red flare? While he was thinking, he suddenly found another signal bomb rising into the sky. Only, this purple signal flare does not belong to Konoha. Well, only Mist Shinobi. Considering that he was here, he didn't hesitate at all and immediately shouted to everyone. Everyone, be alert, inform the medical team to retreat, and the 3rd Brigade will protect the medical team. Others, join me and prepare to meet the enemy. Following Miyamoto Yukie's words, the entire frontline camp immediately became busy. The sharp siren was sounded, and both the patrol team on duty and the resting ninja team began to move. Probably, half an hour later. Before Konoha could set up a defensive formation, more than 20 Mist Shinobi rushed over. They made seals with their hands and then spoke in unison. Water style, Mist Shinobi technique. In the blink of an eye, all Mist Shinobi ninjas sprayed thick mist from their mouths, instantly filling the entire frontline camp in Konoha. On Konoha's side, there was a slight panic. No way. Most of the people on Konoha's side this time are ninja students. To put it bluntly, they are like cannon fodder. They didn't even complete the mission, they didn't kill any bandits or thieves, they were just thrown directly onto the battlefield. Don't look at all the rhetoric before they came, but when they actually faced the fighting on the battlefield, to be honest, it was good that they didn't collapse directly. Everyone, hold still, Miyamoto Yukie shouted as he prepared to rush out and attack the group of Mist Shinobi head-on. But, before he could take action, team after team of elite Mist Shinobi emerged from the woods and killed them directly. When Miyamoto Yukie saw this, his expression turned extremely ugly. But faced with this situation, he had no choice but to rush out with a loud shout. But, the next second, a huge knife blocked him, and then a man with a bandage around his neck and sinister eyes rushed out. 7 Ninja Swordsman. Miyamoto Yuki's face was ugly, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Beheading sword, loquat juzo." Miyamoto Yukie was completely stupid. Yes, he never imagined that he would be the first enemy he would face when he came to the front line of Mist Shinobi. It is the one from the 7 Ninja Swordsman, the beheading sword loquat juzo. This, he really wanted to cry. He is just an ordinary jonin, and he was promoted through merit. In fact, in terms of hard power alone, he is not as good as Uchiha Shisui, the current Konoha Chunin. But why? He couldn't figure out why he met Loquat Juzang. Aren't Konoha and Mist Shinobi currently at odds with each other, with no real declaration of war? Isn't sending him to Mist Shinobi's front line purely for defense? Only, before he could figure out the problem, several more people came out one after another. This guy is the commander-in-chief of Konoha's front line. Konoha looks down upon our Mist Shinobi too much, right? Just send this thing to resist the Mist Shinobi. I feel it's normal. Now the major clans in Konoha are cooperating with the Hokage apprentices to resist Rock Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi in the Land of Rain. Sagakure has restrained some of Konoha's main forces. Our Mist Shinobi declaration of war came so suddenly, Konoha thought it would be impossible to send out the main force. If we had known this earlier, we should have taken the initiative when this group of people came over. Konoha is really getting worse year by year. With the death of Senju Tobarama, the Senju clan disappeared directly. A few years ago, Konoha's White Fang Hatake Tsukumo finally appeared. I heard that he was forced to commit suicide by Konoha himself. Now that we are facing our Mist Shinobi, it is disgusting to send such a thing. Quote. Everyone in Mist Shinobi was talking a lot. Everyone's faces were full of ridicule. Yes, think of Konoha in the past. When it first started, Senju Hashirama alone was able to suppress the entire ninja world, along with the equally powerful Uchiha Madara. And after, Uchiha Madara left Konoha, and Konoha's strength was cut in half. After the death of Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama relied on resting on its laurels to survive the First Ninja War. But, even so, Senju Tobarama during the Second Ninja War, Konoha still showed its decline, and could only rely on his own death to barely end the Second Ninja War. After Sarutobi Hiruzen came to power, Konoha began to become all kinds of crotchless. A few years ago, Hatake Tsukumo finally came out, and the ninja world dared not say anything by relying on one person. But, who would have thought? Before everyone could figure out how to kill this guy, Hatake Tsukumo was killed by his own village. Horse riding. Thinking of this, they wanted to laugh. And, on the other side, unlike Mist Shinobi who was in a relaxed mood, Miyamoto Yukie couldn't laugh at all. I didn't even bother to listen to Mist Shinobi's discussion. Just looking at the leading ninjas in front of him, he was trembling with shock. Loquat Juzo, Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost, Chestnut Grain Ball, Wooly Jinpachi, Black Ho Thunder Tooth. Good guy. Except for the users of blunt swords and kabutos, and the people who use grass and wild bait, all the 7 ninja swordsmen are here. What does this prove? This proves that Mist Shinobi has directly declared war on Konoha. Otherwise, how could a group of the strongest Mist Shinobi appear on the front line of Uzumaki country for no reason? But, I am just an ordinary jonin in Konoha, is he worthy of being dealt with by the 7 ninja swordsmen together? He is so virtuous and capable. At this time, in his heart, he cursed the village to death. Is this what is called defense? What about fools? However, Yuki Miyamoto, who can become jonin, is not just a power-fighting novice. So, he understood instantly that he was being treated as an outcast. The village sent him and these cannon fodder here simply to buy time for the village. He hates it. I am loyal to the village, how could the village do such a thing? Only, before he could figure out the problem, another group of people came out of the depths of the woods. The leader is not someone else. It is one of the remaining 7 ninja swordsmen, the user of Duke Kabuto, Tongsao Yaito. Hey, what are you doing? Is it chat time now? Don't you know that this kind of behavior is disrespectful to Konoha Shinobi? Everyone in Mist Shinobi laughed. Obviously, at this time, Mist Shinobi seemed to be determined to defeat the Konoha shinobi in front of him. Loquat Juzang sneered. The wild bait people are right, kill them. After that, no more nonsense. His speed was as fast as ultimate, and he swung the decapitating sword in his hand. Miyamoto Yukie didn't even react before he was killed by Loquat Juzo. Others also took action. As for the other side, on the Konoha shinobi side, everyone was stunned now. Obviously, no one expected that their commander could not even take a single move. What a fart. The Konoha shinobi present were themselves a group of cannon fodder, so naturally they collapsed instantly. Everyone fled in all directions. I just hate my parents for not giving me 2 more legs. Yes, this is cannon fodder. Never mind how many lofty ideals and big dreams they had when they were in ninja school. But, essentially, they are a group of teenage boys who live in a peaceful village and have never seen blood in their lives. In Uchiha Jin's previous life, this was a group of elementary school students who only knew how to play. They were so fragile before going through any trials and being guided step by the village. When fighting with the wind, it may be better. But faced with this desperate situation, they couldn't even fight to the death. Ha, this is Konoha. It made me laugh so hard, kill. Black Hole Ya burst into laughter, casually killing a Konoha team, and couldn't help but complain. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost looked a little serious. They are just a bunch of Konoha cannon fodder. What's there to be proud of in killing such people? The Blowfish Ghost is right. Loquat Juzang said, kill the Konoha ninjas as soon as possible. Leave the necessary manpower in the Whirlpool country to clean up the remaining Konoha cannon fodder as quickly as possible. Others, find a boat as soon as possible. We need to invade the Land of Fire as soon as possible before Konoha's elites are dispatched. After all, it seems now that these cannon fodder are just a cover-up. This is what Konoha is using to fool us and buy time for them to dispatch their elites. We at Mist Shinobi must not give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In addition, send a messenger to inform the village of the situation here. It's best to send Jinchuriki here. We'd better take advantage of the situation and completely destroy Konoha Shinobi village before Konoha reacts. Others responded with a bang. Yes, no one is stupid. Seeing that the group of Konoha shinobi who blocked him were just a group of cannon fodder who had just graduated from the ninja school, anyone who was not stupid would understand what was going on. No one wants to give up such a good opportunity. Therefore, as Loquat Juzo spoke, all the Mist Shinobi ninjas performed their duties and began to get busy with their work. 3 days later, the kingdom of Whirlpool, deep in the dense forest. In a hidden cave, a small fire was burning. Uchiha Jin and the other 3 people just gathered around the fire. While taking Bing Liang pills to replenish his strength, he began to discuss the next step of action. I really didn't expect Ishikawa's death to be so tragic. Kudo Nobu sighed with emotion. Nara Kazama's face was calm. When he chose to stay at the outpost and not act with us, many things were actually doomed. The situation at that time was as follows. The Mist Shinobi had already launched a large-scale attack. There were 4,000 Mist Shinobi ninjas hiding in the darkness of the country of Whirlpool, but we Konoha didn't know anything about it. How can such important information be delayed just because of Ishikawa Shu? I believe that even if Ishikawa Shu is alive, he will agree with our actions. After all, it's all for the village. Ishikawa's sacrifice is worth it. He will be engraved on the memorial tablet and be supported by Konoha forever. Ishikawa Shu is a hero and will always live in our hearts. Kudo Shin. He looked confused. His mouth opened slightly and he looked at Nara Kazama in disbelief. Hold the grass. Is this the truth of the matter? His mind went blank for a while, and he even felt that there was something wrong with his memory. But, that's not right. Obviously everyone hates Ishikawa Shu, so they choose to ignore him, and it can even be said that they may kill him. How come Nara Kazama's upper lip touches her lower lip, and the meaning immediately changes to this? Become a hero. Will everyone still remember him? I can go to hell. If Ishikawa Shu was still alive, he would definitely paralyze them. And I'm sure I'll yell even if I'm a ghost, and I won't let you go, right? He was speechless, and he instantly understood the fundamental reason why the Nara clan, despite their low strength, could still become a major clan in Konoha and be deeply trusted by the Hokage. This broken mouth is really powerful. Even those who die can live, but he can only shout Lautai 666. Actually, don't say it's him. Even Uchiha Jin, who knows Nara Kazama, is still full of food but doesn't know how to vomit it. This guy is definitely a talent. Yes, during these 3 days, they were a group of 3. He escaped countless pursuits by Mist Shinobi, traveled countless times in the land of Whirlpool, and killed a total of 31 Mist Shinobi ninjas. On the way, they naturally passed by the outpost where they were stationed before, and also found the body of Ishikawa Shu. Only, considering that bringing his body back, it might be possible for the Yamanaka clan to place his memory in it. Even if Ishikawa's brain is destroyed, there will still be a trace of being noticed. So, once and for all, they directly cremated Ishikawa Shu. Okay, there's no point in talking more. Ishikawa Shu is glorious, he sacrificed himself for the village. He is our hero in Konoha and will always live in everyone's hearts. We will not discuss this person in the future, let's discuss the next actions. Hearing these words, the two of them nodded quickly. Yes, regarding the matter of Ishikawa tree, it is indeed better not to discuss it. After all, the real situation is indeed a bit too dirty and inconsistent with the will of fire. Only, when they really started to think about the next situation, the 3 of them couldn't help but start to have a headache. The searches of Mist Shinobi are becoming more frequent. This is normal. After all, for Mist Shinobi, the next Uzumaki country is the bridgehead for them to capture Konoha. Of course, Konoha Shinobi is not allowed to mess with such an important location. It would be great if we had a Hyuga ninja in our team. Kudo Shin couldn't help but speak. But, after he finished speaking, he subconsciously looked at Uchiha Jin. I'm sorry, Lord Jin, I don't look down on Uchiha. No need to say more, I understand. Uchiha Jin said calmly. In terms of large-scale exploration, Sharingan is indeed not as good as Byakugan. He really doesn't care. First of all, he really doesn't like Uchiha. More importantly, Kudo Shin was right. Sharingan is indeed strong. When it comes to fighting alone, Uchiha overwhelms Hyuga. But, same thing. In such a large-scale war, Hyuga's Byakugan is a strategic resource. Didn't you see those reckless guys from Cloud Shinobi, who made 2 attempts to fight for the bloodline in Konoha, but both turned their eyes at Hyuga and showed no intention of paying attention to Uchiha? Even a few years ago, the Cloud Shinobi ninja that Uchiha Jin encountered was essentially the guy who wanted to escape and accidentally escaped to his residence. Why not grab Sharingan? Isn't it because Sharingan is strong in fighting alone, but it is of little help in large army operations like this? 1 or 2 strong men alone, unless they are as strong as Hatake Sakumo or Minato, can't really change the situation of the battle much. Sudden. Just when Uchiha Jin opened his mouth and was about to continue talking, he suddenly felt a call. Summoning technique. Make seals with both hands and slap the ground. Boom. A black ninja crow appeared with a note tied to his foot. Uchiha Jin opened the note, took one look at it and burned it with fire style, then smiled and spoke. And, 2 days. Anbu has informed the village of the situation here. Now that the Konoha army has gathered, this time it is led by our Uchiha clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku himself. Everyone, hold on. Yes. As early as the moment they were sure that the frontline camp collapsed, he contacted Shisui through the Ninja Crow, wanting to ask when the main force of Konoha would arrive. Of course, he's not stupid. Because he knew Shisui's character, he was afraid that he would directly tell Sarutobi Hiruzen that he was related to him. So, just ask. He did not inform Shisui of the specific situation on the front line. This is great, Kudo Shin shouted. Uchiha, we are saved. He cheered loudly. After all, in this desperate situation, even if Uchiha Jin is commanding very well, the pressure of facing life and death at any time still makes him breathless. Actually, don't talk about him. Even Nara Kazama is relieved now. Yes, he knew very well that this time Uchiha took action, it was the clan leader Fugaku who took action. Then the ninjas brought must be elite. At least. It's definitely not like this group of them, who are all cannon fodder. Uchiha Jin, same thing. Although it was only a few days, it felt like years. This kind of day where the nerves are tense all the time, every minute and every second, and the brain is constantly calculating, is simply not something that normal people can bear. But, not bad. Once Uchiha's army arrives, they can breathe a sigh of relief. Thinking of this, he smiled and spoke. Okay, everyone. Now that we have received the news, everyone is relieved. Next, have a good rest. In 2 hours, we should continue setting off. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 31. 2 days later, deep in the dense forest, figures flickered. Uchiha Jin and 3 other people were jumping on the tree trunks, and their figures were moving quickly. Compared with the previous life, in this world, guerrilla warfare is easier to use than in the previous life. After all, they are ninjas. Movement speed is faster, physical fitness is better, and individual combat is stronger. Although the enemies are similar in all aspects, as long as they don't know your specific whereabouts and there are no sensing ninjas to keep tracking you, it's a joke to pursue them in a targeted manner. Now, that's it. Uchiha Jin and others have been running around the country of Whirlpool for several days, but Mist Shinobi still hasn't caught them. Even if you occasionally encounter some small teams, in the eyes of them who hide their strength, they are just like lambs to be slaughtered. As for the large army, don't forget Nara Kazama. Although the Nara clan is not as good as Hyuga's Byakugan in terms of detection, they are not completely incapable of this ability. The Nara clan's strongest skill is shadow imitation. Shadow, without a trace. Especially at night, it is basically difficult to defend. The group of them relied on Nara's secret skills to detect the enemy's whereabouts in advance. Although it is not as convenient as the Byakugan, it is at least better than nothing. As for Uchiha Jin, he didn't expose Sharingan, the physical skills and fire style alone were enough to make him the captain. The reason is also simple. Even though the 3 of them are cooperating very well now, under the threat of death, the 3 of them had no choice but to do it. After it is truly safe, everyone knows what they are thinking. Nara Kazama is a little better. Both of them have dirty information about each other, and neither of them will betray each other unless there is a major interest impact. But for Kudo Shin, it's hard to say. He is just a civilian ninja. After countless efforts in life and death, he barely managed to return an Earth-style ninjutsu. Even this is AC level. To wealthy people like Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama, it was just like a joke. It's so easy to bribe civilian ninjas like this. With just 2 or 3 C-level ninjutsu, he could defeat both of them. If given a B-level ninjutsu, he would dare to kneel down and call daddy. As for killing him, the 2 of them have never had this idea. It's not that he's kind or has an emotional bond. First of all, if you can survive in the ninja world, the emotion of kindness is irrelevant. It will only appear on the weak, or the absolutely strong. Either they are civilian ninjas who were deceived by high-level officials, or they are powerful enough to be like Senju Hashirama, or they are the children of destiny like Uzumaki Naruto, or at last they have to be the second generations with backgrounds and backgrounds. Apart from these people, no one else is eligible. Hitaki Kakashi, kind, in the hands of Sarutobi Hiruzen, he is a ninja in the dark, killing whoever he is asked to kill. Right or wrong is not important at all. Namikaze Minato, is it kind? Even though he later became the 4th Hokage, he couldn't do anything Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't allow him to do until the day he died. Even the Hokage Anbu, he didn't have complete control over. Even this kind of people can't be said to be kind, let alone Uchiha Jin and Nara Kazama. Bonds are even more nonsense. Before everyone comes into contact, they are the old silver coins who understand everything. In just a few days of contact, there were all kinds of intrigues. After just a few days of cooperation, there was a bond. This is a joke. Unless there is a specially trained elite team, there is no way to cultivate bonds. Not killing Kudo Nobu was out of interest. Whether it's Nara Kazama or Uchiha Jin, both of them have ghosts in their hearts. Even if a little bit of strength is exposed, it can be covered up by war. As long as the strongest combat strength is not exposed, it will not attract the attention of the village. To survive is to be promoted from cannon fodder to an ordinary ninja. But if both civilian ninjas die, causing the village to realize that something is wrong, and then letting Anbu investigate the 2 of them carefully, and even deduce everything about them from childhood to adulthood, then everything will be over. Man, not God. Even Uchiha Jin can't completely guarantee that he has made no mistakes in his life and can withstand the village's investigation. Therefore, it would be better to keep Kudo Shin as a person. Careful, pay attention. There are two mist shinobi teams in front. Chakra's strength is average, so there is a high probability that they are ordinary teams. Nara Fengjian suddenly spoke. When Kudo Nobu heard this, he couldn't help but look at Uchiha Jin. Obviously, after these days of cooperation and countless successful escapes, Uchiha Jin proved himself. Hear this. Uchiha Jin did not hesitate. Old rules. I will cooperate with Kazama. I trust you to stay in the dark and do the finishing touches. Fire style, Phoenix fire technique. He made seals with both hands, and 7 fireballs dispersed directly towards Mist Shinobi. Nara Kazama doesn't talk nonsense either. Wind style, crush. A huge wind style took shape, smashing the surrounding dead branches, collapsing the earth, and gathering the Phoenix fairy fire. Fire borrows the power of wind and sweeps everything. Centered on the Mist Shinobi teams, a radius of more than 10 meters was completely destroyed in an instant. Several Mist Shinobi genin, dead in one hit. Only the 2 remaining Chunin could barely withstand this wave. This is Konoha Shinobi. Mist Shinobi Chunin gritted his teeth and spoke. He showed hatred in his eyes. To know that his brother died at the hands of the Konoha Shinobi. At this moment, he wants revenge. But before he could take action, Kudo Shin moved from behind, and kunai directly separated his throat. He died. Just as the remaining Chunin was about to escape, Uchiha threw out a kunai, directly piercing his heart. Seal the head, retreat. Uchiha Jin spoke calmly. Nara Kazama and Kudo Arata just nodded and started doing their own things. After these few days of cooperation, everyone has become familiar with this routine. But, right now, a fat Mist Shinobi ninja walked out with a gloomy expression on his shoulder, carrying a large knife that didn't look like a knife at all. Big sword, Samahata, watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost. Nara exclaimed in the wind. He looked pale. Facing this famous Jonin among the 7 ninja swordsmen, he didn't think he and the others could handle it. Uchiha Jin, his face changed slightly. If he really unleashed his full strength, even if he couldn't kill the 7 ninja swordsmen in front of him, he was confident that it would not be difficult to at least win the battle. But, no, his true strength must not be exposed here. Escape. After saying that, he ran away immediately. Nara Kazama had already been prepared, and when Uchiha Jin spoke, he naturally started running without saying a word. At this moment, he really exploded with all his strength. But, no matter what, the 2 of them were able to run away, but Kudo Shin was far behind. He was so frightened that he couldn't even exert half of his usual strength. The watermelon mountain blowfish ghost has a sneer on his face. Even Samahata didn't bother to take action and just punched Kudo Nobu hard. Yes, for 3 Konoha genin, as a jonin, he could easily crush these 3 ants with chakra alone. Haha, 3 brats, Mist Shinobi, so many ninjas have died in the past few days, it seems you are the one causing the trouble. Since you've been hit by me, just keep your life. Kudo Shin's face turned pale. Especially when the watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost rushed towards him, he even smelled the breath of death. But, right now, he felt his whole body rising into the air, and instinctively looked back the next second. Then he found that Uchiha had turned back, and just dragged him away and flew away. Uchiha Jin, his mind went blank. We have been in contact for such a long time and have long understood each other's character. In his opinion, Uchiha Jin is an egoist. On the premise that it does not affect yourself, whether he will be willing to win over his companions is based on the premise that you gain his approval. But, same thing, if his life safety is affected, he will give up his companions without hesitation. He just talked about the will of fire and so on. So, why? He really couldn't figure it out. Why did Uchiha Jin want to save himself? You must know that you are just a civilian. Before he could figure this out, Uchiha caught up with Nara Kazama, picked him up with his free left hand, and led the 2 of them madly towards the distance. Kudo Shin, Nara Kazama, now both of them are completely stupid. Obviously, what Uchiha Jin did really gave them a feeling of cognitive impairment. Actually, don't talk about them. Even the watermelon mountain blowfish ghost, who was about to take action, now had a question mark on his forehead, looking at Uchiha Jin in astonishment. Then came anger. Good guy. As an elite jonin, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, and the recipient of the Samahata. If he just let the 3 little brats of Konoha run away, wouldn't it make the entire ninja world laugh out loud? This cannot be tolerated. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon was completely angry. He held Samahata in his hand in anger, and then rushed directly towards Uchiha Jin. "Kid, I'm angry," he shouted angrily while chasing him. "Stop it immediately, lousy." Uchiha Jin, the corners of his mouth twitched. As if he heard a huge joke, he ran away and shouted to the back. "Jonin, that's it. With your IQ, you are still known as the 7 ninja swordsmen. Do you want to laugh me to death so that you can inherit my Konoha forehead protector? I'll stop when you tell me to. Do you think I'm a fool? I haven't had a cerebral thrombosis for 3 years. How can I say stupid things like you? Old man, are you getting too old? I advise you to return to Mist Shinobi as soon as possible to retire. The battlefield is our young people's business. What are you doing at such an old age? Hold the grass." After hearing these words, the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost almost vomited blood out of breath. Paralyzed, lousy is a catchphrase. Is there anyone who goes online like this? Who among you didn't say that? He was even more angry. He never imagined that the Konoha brat in front of him would have such a bad mouth. The key is that he wanted to refute, but he couldn't think of any words for a while. After all, there's nothing wrong with what people say. You can't just say stop and others will really stop, right? Are you not stupid? But that's why. The anger in his eyes became more and more angry, and he immediately roared loudly. "Konoha kid, you're dead. Lousy, even if I chase you till sunset today, I will definitely kill you, little. Even if all other tasks are abandoned, Lousy vows to kill you today." But about this, Uchiha Jin scoffed. He didn't even pay attention to the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost. If he didn't have 2 losers on his side, he would have turned around and hacked him to death. Therefore, in response to this guy's threat, he continued to be mean-mouthed. "Ouch, come on. Old people must pay attention to their health and don't twist your waist. Don't force it." Uchiha Jin's words seemed to care about the other person's body, and he was all doing it for your own good. "But I can't stand it. Everyone is the enemy. This kind of ridicule cannot be tolerated by an individual. Not to mention the Watermelon Mountain Fugu Oni, who is one of the elite Jonin of the 7 ninja swordsmen. If word of this gets out, how will he behave in this life?" Therefore, he became even more angry. While chasing madly, all kinds of ninjutsu, senbon, kunai, and shurikens began to hit Uchiha non-stop. It can be said, except for the Samahata in his hand, he almost smashed it out. But, no matter what, Uchiha Jin's physical skills are so strong, especially his endurance for long-distance running, that it is beyond the reach of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost. Even though he tried his best, he just couldn't catch up with Uchiha Jin, who was carrying 2 burdens. Not to mention him, not even the ninjutsu he threw could catch up with the brat Uchiha. This is really pointless. Even though his strength was high and his ninjutsu was powerful, he couldn't catch up with the enemy while riding a horse, which made him helpless. He couldn't even figure it out. Why did Konoha create such a thing? The strength is not very good, but the escape is sneaky. Nara Kazama, Kudo Shin. At this time, the 2 of them were already numb. Although it looked very indecent as Uchiha Jin was holding it in his hand, he really didn't dare to speak and let Uchiha Jin put the 2 of them down. They are not stupid. It is clear that with their abilities, they cannot outrun the enemies behind them. So, hey, so be it. They just really can't figure out why Uchiha Jin wants to stimulate the Watermelon Mountain Fugu Ghost. In their opinion, this is purely a mental illness. It's just that they didn't know it in their hearts. Uchiha Jin had scolded the 2 of them to death. Nonsense. If it weren't for these 2 losers, he would have hacked each other to death long ago. Why would he be so aggrieved like this? The trash talk now is just for venting. Time passes slowly. The 2 of them chased and escaped for almost half a day. Actually, the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost even wanted to give up. Facing such a guy who could never catch up, he really gave up the urge to hack the opponent to death. He is tired. You have to know that he is a fat man. Even if he is an elite Jonin, chasing Tama for several hours is really too much. He's just a ninja, not a track and field athlete. But, numbness. Whenever he wanted to give up and sneak away, Uchiha, the one, would come back and taunt him. My uncle can bear it, but neither can my aunt. Even though I was furious, for the sake of elite Jonin's face, I could only muster up the energy to chase after him. That's all. Time slowly comes to night. Just when the two of them ran to the beach again, they saw a dozen large ships, flying the flags of Konoha and Uchiha, approaching the country of Uzumaki in the wind and waves. And their pursuit and escape obviously attracted their attention. Immediately afterwards, a dozen elite Jonin were just walking across the sea to kill them. The only one is none other than Uchiha Shisui, Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost. He felt paralyzed by 10,000 words, but he didn't know whether to say them or not. The Pufferfish Ghost from Ziguashan has a dull look on his face. He is a tired yuppie. His forehead was covered with sweat, and his breathing was extremely rapid. He was half squatting and breathing heavily. But after seeing the Konoha shinobi charging towards him, he was so angry that he wanted to scold his mother directly. I was fooled by Uchiha Jin for a whole day, but I didn't kill this one at the end, but I turned around and saw the army coming from Konoha to support. My luck is so bad. He felt that he must not have looked at the almanac when he went out today, otherwise how could he have encountered such a disgusting thing? At this time, he really wanted to cry. If he had known that he would encounter something like this, he wouldn't have come out to show off and try to kill this Konoha team. But, who would have thought? In a mere Konoha cannon fodder team, there would be such a weirdo as Uchiha Jin. So, hey, after sighing helplessly, he glared at Uchiha Jin fiercely, then turned around and ran away without saying a word. Yes, there are more than a dozen Konoha ships, at least 3,000 Konoha shinobi, and they are still flying the Uchiha flag. There is no need to think about it at all, this is definitely an elite ninja in Konoha. Even if he was the Mist Shinobi Elite Jonin, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he could only run when faced with this situation. Otherwise, how to fight? The one who steps on the horse is called giving away the head. And as the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost left, Uchiha Jin also threw away the 2 people in his hands, and then lay directly on the cold ground. Yes, the Konoha army is coming, and he can survive again. Kudo Shin. Nara Kazama. Seeing the lewd Uchiha Jin in front of them, they could only roll their eyes and didn't know how to complain for a while. Looking at each other, they could only sigh helplessly. Probably, in 5 minutes, Uchiha Shisui and other Jonin arrived, looking at the 3 people in front of them with a frown. Konoha Shinobi, and Nara, and Uchiha, but, although they didn't know much about the specific situation, everyone's expression still relaxed. What happened just now? Can any of you explain this? Uchiha Shisui was the first to ask. If it were in private, Uchiha Jin would definitely speak. However, considering this situation, he still shook his head helplessly, indicating that he was very tired, so he asked Nara Kazama to speak. When it comes to words, Nara can be trusted. Nara Kazama lived up to expectations. Directly explain all the things that happened here from the time their group came to the Kingdom of Whirlpool to the present. Of course, it's all true. Only on the Ishikawa tree side, some necessary beautification was carried out. Upon hearing this, many Jonin fell into silence. They were all shocked. Who would have thought that a team of just graduated cannon fodder genin could delay nearly 3 days in the territory where the Mist Shinobi army was stationed, and today it was even more so in the Watermelon Mountain Fugu Ghost. This 7 ninja swordsman escaped from his hands for most of the day. This is simply a myth. But, everyone saw the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost that just escaped, but no one could fake it. Yeah, I got it. You 3 will have a good rest. Anbu will talk to you next. You don't need to worry about the rest. It's our turn. Uchiha Shisui, with a very gentle tone. But when he said it, it sounded very haughty. Immediately afterwards, a dozen large Konoha ships docked, and groups of Konoha shinobi disembarked. In less than 2 hours, a frontline camp was built directly on the spot, and various defensive formations were even set up. Have to say, this group of Konoha elites and the previous army of cannon fodder are like 2 extremes. Uchiha Jin and 3 other people were arranged into a camp. Probably 2 hours later. All the while, the Anbu team appeared in the camp and conducted a strict interrogation of the 3 of them. This is normal. After all, it took almost a week for the original frontline camp to collapse. No one can guarantee whether they have rebelled during this period. But, after the three of them took out nearly 50 mist shinobi heads that they had killed, as well as a large number of mist shinobi's ninja forehead protectors, various kunai with mist shinobi's logo, bingliong pills, and shurikens. This Anbu team still chose to believe. Yes, everyone took out so many things, which is enough to prove what kind of cruel situation they encountered in the past few days. If you still don't believe this, are they still human? Even if they hesitate for a moment now, if this news gets out, all the ninjas in Konoha will explode. When someone encounters such a cruel situation and is still being questioned for his achievements, what ninja can guarantee that he will not encounter such a situation? Okay, I understand. We will collect and archive these mist shinobi heads, forehead protectors and other evidence for further investigation and confirmation. As long as it is finalized, it will be directly converted into contribution points. The preliminary investigation is over and the report will be submitted to the village. Lord Hokage will make a final judgment within 2 days at the latest. You guys should have a good rest. During this period, your team will not have any missions. As long as you don't leave the frontline camp. After saying this, Anbu turned around and left. As for Uchiha Jin and the other three, they didn't show any concern and just lay down on the bed and fell asleep. Yes, their contribution is real, and the village is now looking for people again. Even Danzo, the pot shadow, should not try to cause trouble at this time. Today's frontline camps are different from the previous cannon fodder camps. Mist shinobi can't get in. In this case, naturally take a rest quickly. You must know that their nerves have been tense these days. Now that they have such a safe place, of course they must take a good rest quickly. This sleep, they slept in darkness. It was the afternoon of the next day when they woke up again. The three of them had a simple meal, then returned to the camp and started chatting. Yes, anyway, they don't need to participate in the battle until the village investigation is completed. Now that you have this time, of course you have to relax. And during this time, even Shisui didn't come to him. This made him instantly understand that before the investigation was completed, they were under house arrest in disguise. It's just that because of their special circumstances, they are not suitable for direct detention. But, even so, no one can get close to them until a thorough investigation is completed. Otherwise, depending on Shisui's temper, she would have come to him directly. Time passes slowly. 2 days later, Captain Anbu from before came to the camp of the three people again. After investigation, there is no problem with your team's merits. Now they have been thoroughly recorded. Also, Hokage order. Nobukudo was promoted to elite Jonin and transferred to other teams to serve as captain. Uchiha Jin, Nara Kazama, are promoted to Chunin in an exceptional manner. As for the specific acceptance of fate, follow the dispatch from the front line. Quote. After Anbu announced the order, he left the camp directly. Uchiha Jin and the other three people are now completely relieved. Yes, even though they already knew the outcome, they still felt a little worried before it was completely over. Now that Hokage has given the order, the matter is finally settled. Well, good thing. Anyway, I feel like the three of us won't be able to get new appointments in a short period of time. At least we got to know each other, and even if we go our separate ways later, I won't be drunk and won't come back today. Finished. He directly took out a storage scroll, took out several blankets of wine, and took out a lot of snacks. Yes, this was something he had prepared on his own before he came to the front line. Fortunately, it was a frontline camp, otherwise he would have dared to eat barbecue directly. He is a normal person. Although he had some calculations in his heart, it was only for his own life. After all, in this chaotic and dark world, if you don't have some resourcefulness, you will die sooner or later. The world of Hokage is not like pirates. Now, it's different. We will definitely not be in the same team from now on, otherwise Sarutobi Hiruzen would not have given such an order. Since we are not in the same team in the future, there will naturally be no conflict of interest. In addition to the contact during this period of time, although it is impossible to become life and death friends, at least there is some friendship. He is still happy to make friends as long as his own interests are not involved. It's good. I have nothing to do anyway. Nara Kazama also smiled and said, "Drink, and you won't come home until you're drunk." He narrowed his eyes slightly. After thinking about it for a moment, I realized that Uchiha Jin was right. Under normal circumstances, a team like them that had just experienced a big battle must be given some time to rest. During this period, they were under great pressure to survive, walking on the edge of life and death every day. Now that we have such a good opportunity, it might as well have a drink and relax. And, drink. It is also a good opportunity to cultivate relationships. Kudo Shinori did not speak, but smiled and agreed. Immediately afterwards, the three of them were in this tent, and began to exchange cups and cups. The sky is south, the sky is blue, and the north is all kinds of nonsense. In this indulgence, they gradually began to relax. Kudo Shin's expression was filled with emotion. Especially when he saw Uchiha Jin in front of him, his eyes became even more complicated. He knows it in his heart. If he hadn't given him a hand, he might have been a corpse 2 days ago. After thinking for a long time, he drank a glass of wine and then suddenly spoke. Uchiha Jin, if you hadn't helped me, I would have died by now. We are all smart people. I know in my heart that if you save me, you must have your plan. But, it doesn't matter. After all, you saved my life, and I'm just a civilian ninja, and my life isn't that valuable. If you need me from now on, just send me a message directly. Uchiha Jin, his eyes narrowed slightly. Looking at Kudo Shin who looked grateful in front of him, he actually didn't care at all. First, what happened at the wine table cannot be taken seriously. Maybe he was indeed grateful to himself, but the words before him were also stimulated by alcohol, and he couldn't help blurting out. But in fact, when he sobered up later and someone else extended an olive branch, he might just run over. Certainly, even if he knew it in his heart, he would not say such cold words at the wine table. After laughing immediately, the incident was considered a matter of course. Probably, an hour later, Kudo Shin's drinking capacity was the worst, and he immediately drank and crawled under the table. Uchiha Jin and Kudo Kazama carried him and threw him on the bed, and covered him with a quilt. Subsequently, the two of them returned to the wine table again. After a few more drinks, Nara Kazama spoke first. Jinjin, Kudo Nobu is actually worth recruiting. He's just a civilian ninja. In fact, the village doesn't like him. Just give him some basic ninjutsu and basically let him serve you. And he has survived at least 2 wars, and his character and abilities are quite good. As long as you cultivate it carefully, you will definitely be a helper in the future. As for the fear of his betrayal or anything like that, I feel like it doesn't matter at all, as long as he comes up with some votes. There are too many ways to ensure that he does not betray. Of course, what's more important is actually his identity. As a civilian ninja, when he truly grows up, he will have huge appeal among the civilian ninja community. Quote. Nara Kazama, the logic is clear. Even though he had drunk a lot of wine, it still didn't affect him. Only, Uchiha Jin looked confused about this. What's going on? After looking at Nara Kazama strangely, he couldn't help but speak. Boy, what's going on? Although we have experienced life and death together, we can barely speak of each other as comrades in arms. But, here's the thing. None of us understand each other, we are all people with our own plans. You plan for me like this, I can't imagine your purpose. Until this issue is clarified, I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say next. Yes, everyone's choice has its own purpose, which can also be said to be interests. But what about the two of them? It's just a cannon fodder team that was put together by various coincidences. How could he plan for himself with all his heart? Uchiha Jin naturally couldn't figure out what Nara Kazama was planning. Nara Fengjian also gave a wry smile when he heard this. The elder brother doesn't laugh at the second brother, we are actually pretty much the same. Nara's tone was faint, and his eyes flashed a cold light. Uchiha is a mess, I don't believe you can't see it. What you are doing now is cutting off Uchiha. But, here's the thing. I don't think the village will be willing to let you go, because your last name is Uchiha, which is the original sin. Of course I believe in your talent. Sooner or later you will become a strong man, even so powerful that Konoha won't dare to provoke you. But, what then? Personal strength is important in the ninja world. Of course it is important to say it is important. But it is just that if it is not important, How powerful first Hokage Senju Hashirama was, but with his death in the end, didn't the Senju clan just disappear? So the best choice is to create your own power. Because you can't be alone forever. On the one hand, you are young, and on the other hand, you have too many things to worry about every day. But when you truly become a strong man, you will definitely have to consider getting married and having children. Can you protect your family for the rest of your life? The best choice is to form your own force. Although my Nara clan is very stable, my status is very embarrassing, so I naturally have to think about the future. So what if I stay dormant all my life? What if I can become stronger? The Nara clan of Konoha will never have a place for me. Nara Shikaku will not give me a chance. Now, I found you. After this period of contact, I bet you can make a difference. I bet you can have the strength of Senju Hashirama and the methods of Senju Tobarama. Uchiha Jin was dumbfounded after hearing what Nara Kazama said. Good guy. I was only thinking about how to escape the night of genocide, but this guy started to think about the safety of future generations. As expected of Nara, she really thinks long term. But, after thinking about it carefully, even he couldn't help but ponder. Nara Kazama's thinking was right, and her previous plan was a bit one-sided. Now under the threat of death and genocide, he didn't think too much about it for the time being. But, what about the future? Just like Nara Kazama said, can I really not get married and have children for the rest of my life? Propagating offspring is instinctive. Does he really not like women? Nonsense. Although he lived in a peaceful era in his previous life, the high betrothal gifts made him, a social creature, helpless. Now that he is reborn in this world, will he be single for the rest of his life? Absolutely impossible. He knew very well that when he was completely settled, he would definitely find a wife to get married. So, here comes the problem. After he gets married and has children, can he really protect his wife and children for the rest of his life? Impossible. Not even talking about myself 100 years from now, when I am still alive, I cannot stay at home 24 hours a day. In this chaotic world, he has to face enemies and kill people at any time. And what will happen to his wife and children after he leaves? So, in fact, from beginning to end, he only had one choice. That is to build your own power so that you can protect your family. The families of the Sengoku era in the past, and the major villages in the ninja world today, isn't this the meaning of their existence? After thinking about this, he looked at Nara Kazama again, and his eyes began to look different. Have to admit, the brains of the Nara family are really powerful. Even though they are the same age as me, they can think so long-term. Even his 2 lives were slightly inferior. In that respect, it's a great ally. Thinking of this, he spoke quietly. Yeah, that makes sense. Though I still can't figure out why you trust me so much, Uchiha. But it doesn't matter. You have successfully convinced me. Can you talk about your thoughts for a while? Yes, although it's a bit early to talk about this now, after all, they are only 12-year-old boys now. But Nara Kazama was right, the earlier something like this is planned, the better. So he was really curious about what Nara Kazama was planning in his heart. And, on the other side, hearing Uchiha Jin's nod, Nara Kazama breathed a sigh of relief. His eyes became serious, showing no signs of drinking, and then he spoke with a solemn expression. First of all, Uchiha is very strong. Although the Uchiha people have more or less problems, it is undeniable that they are a powerful help. The current Uchiha is not good. The clan leader Fugaku is simply too stupid and has no leadership skills at all. I can't say much about Uchiha because my understanding is too limited. But I believe that Lord Jin, you must have a way, so Uchiha still has to rely on you to find a way to win over everyone you can, and form a group of forces that will fully obey your orders. I am familiar with the Ino-Shika Cho clan. I know many tribesmen who have been suppressed, feared, and even dealt with in secret. I will find a way to bring them over and truly join our forces. As for the civilian side, I believe Kudo Shin can handle it. There's nothing wrong with his character or abilities. He's just too weak now. When he becomes truly powerful, he will naturally be our help. And Aburame, Inazuka, etc. Actually, every force is similar. There are many different voices within. It's similar to your Uchiha side. At best, it's more or less. As long as you can make good use of it, you can win over a group of people. We are too young and have enough time to plan and wait for the moment when our power is truly formed. If you want to get rid of Sarutobi Hiruzen and take over, you can also win over a group of people who hate the third Hokage family. After all, these people are the ones who Danzo has been poaching from various tribes, so he has gained a large number of people. Even if the rest don't join, I can still make them neutral. Even, to say the least. Even if this move feels a bit risky, we can slowly find ways to move the people we have won over the years out of Konoha Shinobi and hide them. There are many ways, such as dying on a mission, being killed by a vendetta, etc. There are too many reasons. Especially when there is a war, we can evacuate in batches. As long as we win over enough people and strong enough people, Konoha will not dare to really deal with us. Otherwise, even if we can be destroyed, the remaining Konoha will not be able to withstand the 4 major ninja villages. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not stupid, he would not dare to do such a thing. Of course, this is just a rough plan. If we really want to implement it, we will have to modify it slowly. But probably according to this model, the problem is not big. Uchiha-jin closed his eyes and meditated. He had to admit it. If they can really strictly implement this plan, then they can use the fastest time to establish a force that is not weaker than Konoha. It's just that he's riding a horse. This is digging the roots of Konoha. Once this is exposed, both of them will be dead. Think of this. He looked at Narakazama's eyes again, and his eyes instantly became extremely complicated. But, same thing. As long as this plan can be successful, or even half successful, then it will be possible to advance and attack, and to retreat and defend. After thinking for a moment, he nodded slowly. I understand. Kudo Nobu, a civilian ninja, should be the first step in our plan. You take care of this matter. Narakazama certainly has no objection to this. Without thinking at all, he nodded and agreed. This matter is easy to handle. But let's wait for now. We'll tell him when he really encounters danger and turns to us. Business is not a business, we can't be too proactive. There's no need to worry that he won't come to us. After all, the survival probability of civilian ninjas during the war is too low. He has a good mental capacity, at least he is not a person who accepts death. Of course, if he didn't come to ask for their help until he died, it would only prove that his ability was nothing more than this. Just die. Uchiha-jin certainly has no objection to this. Since the matter has been handed over to Narakazama, he is not interested in asking too much. Don't ask about the process, just the results. He learned this from those capitalists in his previous life. Subsequently, the two began to chat about other things, and this short-lived alliance was established. Although the two of them didn't really trust each other at this time. But it is a good start, the rest can only be left to time. This indulgence lasted until evening. Narakazama couldn't bear it anymore, so she just lay on the bed and slept, but Uchiha-jin's drinking capacity was better. Although I felt dizzy, I didn't feel drunk at all. He just lay on the bed, staring outside through the window of the tent in a daze. He is thinking, how likely is Narakazama's plan to succeed? Of course, more importantly, is this guy trustworthy? He does not know, but it doesn't matter. Now the two of them are only in tentative contact, and Uchiha-jin will never show the really important trump card. Even if something goes wrong with Narakazama, he is confident that he will be able to escape unscathed in the end. At worst, he will just defect. As long as the system capabilities are not exposed, everything else is not a big deal. The worst thing is, just wait a little longer. After he truly becomes a strong man, he can just stage a return of the king in Konoha. The only thing that gave him a headache was that before he was able to protect his family, he could only say sorry to those beautiful ladies. Right now, the curtain of the tent was opened, and Shisui, who smelled of blood, walked right in. Then, the next second, he was choked and coughed by the strong smell of alcohol. It wasn't that he couldn't smell the alcohol, but he wasn't prepared at all. After all, who in the right mind would think of drinking in a frontline camp? Or is it under the premise that the enemy may launch an attack at any time? Isn't this just looking for death? After coughing for a long time, Shisui couldn't help but speak. Jin, you guys, how much wine did you drink? Are you crazy? This is the frontline camp. He was really speechless. On the other hand, Uchiha Jin, who was lying on the bed, showed no change in his expression when Shisui suddenly appeared. After all, knowing Shisui, he knew that this guy would definitely come to find him. In response to his inquiry, he just shrugged. What's this? Is it normal? You must know that our team has just experienced life and death, and our nerves are stretched to the limit. Anyway, it's impossible to arrange tasks in a short period of time. Why can't you take this time to relax and unwind? Shisui, speechless, he also really felt helpless towards the Uchiha Jin in front of him. This guy always has a reason. I really said I couldn't beat him. Really, not Uchiha at all. After shaking his head helplessly, he was too lazy to waste time on this. He simply rolled his eyes, took a deep breath and said, "See, you're not drunk. Come out with me. I have something to talk to you about." Uchiha Jin, there is no rejection. He had expected this day, so there was nothing surprising. He stood up and yawned, then followed Shisui out of the frontline camp again and came to a quiet seaside. The two of them were sitting on the beach, facing the sea breeze, looking at the endless blue sky and white clouds. Their moods calmed down for a while. After a long time, Shisui's face was calm, and he spoke casually. "Why did you say those words to me the day you left Konoha? You are too kind to me, I don't want to lie to you," Uchiha Jin said in a calm tone. Shisui, silence. He could feel it, Uchiha Jin wasn't lying. And, thinking about the scenes in which the two people came into contact, it seems that this is indeed the case. I had been kind to him countless times in exchange for the few words Uchiha Jin said to me before he left. But, he didn't understand. Yes, for someone like him, who has shown his talent since childhood and has been working hard for Uchiha and the peace of the village, he naturally cannot understand Uchiha Jin's thoughts. Especially after knowing that Uchiha Jin really regarded him as a friend, he was naturally unwilling to test anything. "Your strength is very strong," Shisui said calmly, with sharp eyes, even stronger than Anbu's investigation in the past few days. Leading the team around the kingdom of Whirlpool for 6 full days, evading the Mist Shinobi army countless times, and killing so many Mist Shinobi ninjas. Especially in the hands of one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, the Watermelon Mountain Fugu Oni, who escaped with 2 ninjas for a long time and successfully persisted until the arrival of the Konoha army. "Why exactly? You actually have this strength, why don't you show it?" He was slightly excited. He has been thinking about Uchiha Jin's behavior for several days, but he still can't figure it out. He just looked at Uchiha Jin, his eyes full of thinking and confusion. He really doesn't understand. Just, the other side. Uchiha Jin responded in a very relaxed tone. "Why else? I don't want to." "Why don't you want to?" Shisui asked quickly. "I don't want to get involved in the ruins of the village and Uchiha." Uchiha Jin's tone was calm, with a touch of disdain. "In my opinion, Uchiha is dead and destined to be annihilated. If you show your talent, you will definitely be attracted by the losers in the clan. And I don't want to have too close contact with Uchiha. In that case, when Uchiha is exterminated, I will definitely be liquidated by the village. Although my surname is Uchiha, I am not deeply tied to the clan. Why should I be buried with Uchiha? Isn't it great now? When Uchiha is destroyed, I will most likely be left alone as an orphan. Anyway, Uchiha and I have no feelings. Even if the worst happens, if I hold on until I die, I will be a traitor. Because I don't have a deep relationship with Uchiha, the intensity of the village's pursuit is definitely not high. There is a high probability that he will be offering a bounty on the black market." Hiss. Shisui was completely dumbfounded by Uchiha Jin's words. His mind went blank. He had thought about countless possibilities before, but he had never thought of one. But, how is it possible? How could Uchiha exterminate the entire clan, the village? Wrong. Absolutely impossible. Shisui took a deep breath and quickly whispered comfort. "Jin, don't worry, there will be no conflict between the clan and Konoha. I've been working hard for this all these years, and I guarantee that what you're worried about won't happen. I will definitely find a way to deal with the radical faction within the clan." And, on the other side, when Uchiha Jin heard these words, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sorry, normally I don't laugh unless I really can't help it. But Shisui, can you stop telling jokes? How can there be any radicals in Uchiha? If there really were radicals, how would Uchiha become like this? In my opinion, there are only moderates and surrenderers in the clan now, plus a useless clan leader. But it's normal. An old antique from the Sengoku era like Uchiha is destined to be unable to adapt to the game rules of the new era. Being exterminated will happen sooner or later. One day earlier and one day later, it doesn't make much difference. Uchiha-jin, speak freely. He had made this preparation before leaving Konoha. 3 gangs of men. Even in this world of high martial arts, he still needs real helpers. Naturally, he has long remembered Shisui's kindness to him when he was in Konoha. Isn't he a heartless and righteous person? Whenever possible, he had to help Shisui. Under such circumstances, there is no way to hide necessary information. He is a dog, but he is not a coward. Even if he knew that Shisui might lose control, he could still bear the necessary risks. Not to mention, after talking to Nara Kazama, he had a clearer plan for the future. He immediately decided to work harder and take the risk to talk more with Shisui. Just control the frequency and try to change it little by little. He believes it. Even if Shisui is brainwashed by Sarutobi Hiruzen, he can bring him back bit by bit. After all, he was just brainwashed, not completely brainless. Not to mention that this time he didn't say anything bad about Sarutobi Hiruzen, he was just commenting on things within the Uchiha clan. The possibility of Shisui going to the Hokage to report him is not high. Experiment, he did it. He told Shisui something just before leaving Konoha. If he went to Hokage to report him, then it was impossible for Sarutobi Hiruzen to do nothing during this period of time. Now that we have had the first time, is the second time far behind? So after saying this, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly and looked at Shisui, who looked confused. Yes, at this time, Shisui's mind went blank. He obviously didn't expect that Uchiha-jin would have such an evaluation of the family. His brows were furrowed and he couldn't help but speak. I don't understand. Jin, why did you say that? Uchiha-jin, a long sigh. After taking a deep look at Shisui in front of him, he spoke in a faint tone. First, the so-called radicals. To me, that's a joke. Shisui, you must understand that a biting dog does not bark. If you really want to change your arms, you should say nothing to anyone, and then prepare silently in secret, or even lick your face and lie down like a dog, wait for the 3rd Hokage to relax for a moment, and then strike directly and ruthlessly to completely kill all those who disobey. But what about the so-called radicals in our clan? Despite how loud he is, he doesn't dare to actually take action. He doesn't even dare to quietly kill a few of Hokage's men. Just imagine for yourself, they have been clamoring for so long, but have they really made any preparations? No, nothing. They are just shouting slogans to gain support from members of the clan. Their real purpose is just to compete with Fugaku for power. Moderate, same thing. When they think about the radical attack, the village will definitely win over them more. To put it bluntly, it is to compete for power. But these two groups don't understand. They just shout slogans, but the other side of the village takes it seriously. They don't even think about it in their stupid minds. How dare the people in power really not care if you shout about rebellion every day? Not to mention Uchiha, they are another group of people with abnormal brains and may really go crazy at any time. Our clan leader, Fugaku, is even more stupid. If there are no external enemies, he can play a balance game, pull one faction against another, and safeguard his rights. But, what now? The village is hostile to Uchiha to this extent. Whether you want to rebel or surrender to the village, you should choose one quickly and gather your power. Only by completely controlling Uchiha will you be qualified to talk to the village. But, what about Fugaku? I don't know if it's because I'm really indecisive or if I'm just trying to balance myself. I've been the clan leader for so long and I still haven't even let out a fart. Just letting all kinds of internal fighting within the clan continue to consume Uchiha's limited strength. The whole Uchiha is full of idiots like this. There's nothing wrong with me, why do I play with these idiots? Hiss. As Uchiha-jin spoke, Shisui couldn't help but take a breath of air. Is this real? The clan had no intention of rebelling at all, it was just a slogan to fight for power. He had never seen things within his family from this perspective before. But, it's undeniable. Looking at things from Uchiha-jin's perspective, things that he had never been able to figure out before seemed to make sense now. But if that's the case, then what do my efforts in the past few years count? He looked confused, but after thinking about it for a moment, he suddenly spoke in confusion. Wait, that's not right. Since the radicals within the tribe are just shouting slogans, why do you say that the Uchiha tribe will definitely be exterminated? This doesn't make sense. Yes, according to Shisui, this is a paradox. Now that I know these things, I can naturally tell these things to the village. By the time, the tension between the village and Uchiha will definitely be greatly relieved. Isn't this a good thing? Then why did Uchiha Jin say just now that Uchiha will definitely be exterminated? To this, Uchiha Jin, you spoke. Do you know what first Hokage Senju Hashirama said when he captured Nine Tails when the village was first established? Shisui, confused. In the past few years, he has been running for the affairs of the clan and the village. Where do you have time to understand this? So, he could only shake his head helplessly. What did first Hokage say? You are too strong, Uchiha Jin said calmly. After saying this, he pondered for a moment before speaking in a gloomy tone. Nine Tails was not as violent as he is now. He was just a happy little fox back then. In the ninja world, I happily eat hot pot and sing songs without harming any human beings. Suddenly one day, Senju Hashirama came to Nine Tails and said that you are too strong, so I must seal you. Nine Tails, everyone is numb. Am I strong or is it my fault? I have never harmed a human being. But, it's a pity. Senju Hashirama didn't care about that at all. He immediately knocked Nine Tails unconscious with a slap, and then stuffed it into the body of his wife, Uzumaki Mito. If you were Nine Tails, wouldn't you be irritable? Numbly, who are you? I'm stronger. Didn't I get knocked unconscious by your slap? Why are you Senju Hashirama so strong? Why didn't you seal yourself? This is why Nine Tails over the years, no matter which Jinchuriki he has, he can't change his mind about destroying Konoha. Shisui, you are stupid. He had never thought that when first Hokage sealed Nine Tails, there was such a thing. However, think about it. If it were him, he would probably be very angry. Wait, that's wrong, Shisui couldn't help but say. We are talking about our clan's affairs. Why are we suddenly talking about Nine Tails? The principle is the same. Uchiha Jin said calmly. For the village, Uchiha is too strong. Sharingan, in particular, is completely unreasonable. Even if Uchiha seems weak now, once he falls into dark emotions such as anger, he can directly activate Sharingan immediately. Such a strong Uchiha, such an unstable Uchiha. If it's just like this, the village can just tolerate it a little bit. The key is that you Uchiha are still disobedient and openly shouted that you want to pull Sarutobi Hiruzen out and become the Hokage yourself. If it were you, would you panic? Although Uchiha is very strong, even without Uchiha, even if Konoha's strength is damaged, it will still not be destroyed. In that case, you understand. Shisui was silent. Just like Uchiha Jin thought, although he was brainwashed by Sarutobi Hiruzen, it does not mean that he is really stupid. He has his own judgment on what is right and wrong. Especially the example Uchiha Jin gave, he can also empathize with it. Senju Hashirama, did you do something wrong? From Konoha's perspective, absolutely not. Even if Nine Tails did not do anything wrong, because of his overwhelming strength, he is an uncontrollable factor in the ninja world. Don't talk about anything else. Didn't Uchiha Madara still capture Nine Tails in order to have a fight with Senju Hashirama? From this point of view, regardless of whether Nine Tails has done bad things, at least he has the ability to do bad things, and if he is left out, he will not be exploited by others. Being locked up is normal under these circumstances. Shisui understands Senju Hashirama quite well and does not think first Hokage did anything wrong. But, same thing. From Nine Tails' perspective, is this reasonable? I haven't done anything harmful, and I haven't even interacted with you humans. Just because I am strong, you want to imprison me. As long as it is a creature with normal thinking ability, it is absolutely impossible to accept this. Not even him, Shisui. So, there is no right or wrong on this matter, it's just that everyone's stance is different. This is just a story. But what about the Uchiha clan? The same applies. Just like Nine Tails who was caught by Senju Hashirama, it doesn't matter whether you have a rebellious heart or not. The important thing is that you have this ability, and you are also quite disobedient. It turns out that's the case. In order to change Uchiha's bad situation in Konoha, but nothing has changed for several years. Now after listening to Uchiha Jin's words, I finally understand the root cause. But, same thing. After fully understanding the root cause, he realized that all his actions in the past were actually in vain. Thinking of this, there was a hint of despair in his eyes. Is it really impossible to change? No, that's not right. I can also ask Master Hokage for advice. He will definitely have a solution. When this mission is over, if I tell Master Hokage about this matter, he will definitely help find a solution. He's a Hokage, why can't he do anything? Shisui muttered. Yes, even though Uchiha Jin said so much, he still had an innate trust in Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Jin couldn't help but frown. Although he didn't say anything bad about Sarutobi Hiruzen, he never left Hokage's top management. Why is this guy Shisui still acting like this? No, absolutely not. These words must not reach Sarutobi Hiruzen, otherwise he will definitely find a way to kill himself next. I was still impulsive. You shouldn't have said so much to Shisui. What to do? His brain was running rapidly, and after a moment he suddenly asked. By the way, Shisui, what do you think of Hatake Tsukumo's suicide? I want to hear your opinion. Shisui, confused. I was having a headache about family matters, so why did Hatake Tsukumo get involved again? Only, through the conversation in front of him, he also understood that this younger brother, who he could only take care of silently in his heart before, was definitely much better than himself in terms of knowledge. So he didn't refute, but began to think silently. After a while, after taking a deep breath, he finally spoke his mind. Hatake Tsukumo is a great ninja. Although the villagers slandered him in various ways, it does not prevent me from recognizing him. It's just a pity. He clearly had a bright future, but in the end he committed suicide. Uchiha Jin nodded. Shisui's words were not unexpected. Even though Hatake Tsukumo has committed suicide, he still has many supporters in Konoha. Didn't see it. Even if Hatake Tsukumo dies, will Sarutobi Hiruzen still let Namikaze Minato, the future fourth Hokage in his heart, the orthodox Hokage faction, be Hatake Kakashi's teacher? Why, on the one hand, it comforts people. It is to tell Hatake Tsukumo's supporters that he will not deal with Kakashi secretly, but will directly incorporate Kakashi into the Hokage faction. But, more importantly, he also wanted to use this matter to win all Hatake Tsukumo's supporters directly into his hands. After thinking for a moment, Uchiha Jin continued to speak. I have a question. The mission Hatake Tsukumo carried out seemed to be the highest level S-class mission, right? According to normal circumstances, there is a confidentiality level starting from B-level tasks, and the confidentiality level of A-level tasks is unknown to non-high-level officials. How come a mission with the highest confidentiality level like S-level suddenly spreads to everyone in Konoha? What about the confidentiality level? Was it eaten by a dog? Who spread the news? Why hasn't it been investigated yet? To be more precise, was there an investigation? Is this matter going to end as soon as Hatake Tsukumo dies? Shisui, dumbfounded. Yes, how come that kind of highest level mission is immediately known to everyone? And it's still within a day. Even if the secret is accidentally leaked, it can't spread so fast, right? And there is. Just like what Uchiha Jin said, this is the highest level of leakage in the world. How come the village didn't even conduct any investigation? Faintly, Shisui smells conspiracy. Because of all these abnormalities, he understood that when the secret was leaked, the top management of Konoha must know the real reason. But, no investigation. It speaks for itself. This quietly opened a crack in his trust in Konoha's senior management, or even in his trust in the will of fire. Thinking that when he talked about wanting to find Hokage, Uchiha suddenly mentioned it, and he vaguely understood what Jin wanted to express. He took a deep breath, wiped the cold sweat from his head, shook his head and said, Jin, just tell me directly. Although I trust Hokage-sama, I also have my own thinking ability. What do you want to express? Just say it directly. Hear this. Uchiha Jin breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. Although Shisui joins the Hokage family, she is essentially for Uchiha. It's just that no one in the clan supports his ideas, and it just so happens that Sarutobi Hiruzen extends an olive branch. To put it bluntly, he has no choice. In this respect, he is different from Itachi. Itachi, the filial son, was led astray by Fugaku since childhood. As soon as he was brainwashed by the will of fire, he directly went out to kill relatives for the sake of the village. His situation is typical of an unstable foundation. If he starts from small things and understands the nature of the world and writes little by little, he might actually become a revolutionary. But it's a pity. He only had a superficial understanding of many things, and once Sarutobi Hiruzen fooled him, he was completely fooled and was completely deceived. After thinking about this, Uchiha became clear-sighted. What I want to say is what I said just now. Uchiha Jin said in a faint tone, "Nine Tails, you are too strong. You are too strong." Hearing this sentence again, Shisui looked slightly confused. However, he is not stupid. After thinking for a moment, he understood. Regardless of Nine Tails, Uchiha, and Hatake Tsukumo. All three of these things have one thing in common, which is what Uchiha Jin expressed in the first place. They are too strong. Yes, like Uchiha, how strong is Hatake Tsukumo? Captain Anbu, squad leader of the Jonin squad, and head of the torture and interrogation department. Among the 7 major authorities in Konoha, Hatake Tsukumo alone occupies 3. A few months before he committed suicide, he was given the title of Hokage Half-Sleeve by the Fire Nation daimyo. Almost before Hatake Tsukumo committed suicide, he was half Hokage. But what now? After the death of Hatake Tsukumo, Captain Anbu was replaced by Sarutobi Shinosuke. The Jonin squad leader became Nara Shikaku, and the torture and interrogation chief became Morino Ihiki. As for these 3 people, they have a common characteristic. They are all members of the Hokage lineage. Morino Ihiki was born a commoner, and it was only through Sarutobi Hiruzen that he grew up to this point. Nara Shikaku, not to mention Ino Shikacho, is the traditional Hokage line, and they support whoever becomes Hokage. Sarutobi Shinosuke, that is his own son. Good guy. I had never thought about this before, but now I was reminded by Uchiha Jin. After thinking about it carefully, I felt a chill running down my spine. Is this still the kind-hearted Hokage-sama in my impression? The majestic half-Hokage half-sleeve, half-Hokage Hatake Tsukumo died in an unknown way, but the Hokage series won a great victory. Then what? Hatake Kakashi joined the Hokage line. That's all. The entire power of Hatake Tsukumo was completely eaten up. Why? This still doesn't make sense. Hatake Tsukumo, why did you commit suicide? Shisui looked confused. He couldn't accept it. His outlook was shattered. He immediately found a problem and asked like crazy. After all, this perception was completely different from what he thought. Uchiha Jin had a look of emotion on his face. That's what I admire about Hatake Tsukumo. He was a real ninja, so he had no choice but to commit suicide. He is worried about Konoha. If he doesn't choose to commit suicide, then he will have to fight with the Hokage. With the internal chaos in Konoha, will other ninja villages miss this good opportunity? On the contrary, as long as he dies, everything will be solved. Konoha will not be in chaos because of this. Even to reduce the impact, Sarutobi Hiruzen does not dare to touch his son Hatake Kakashi. That's exactly what it is. Hatake Kakashi became a disciple of Namikaze Minato and fully devoted himself to the Hokage lineage. It is because of this that the Hokage family has completely taken Hatake Tsukumo's die-hard fans under their wing. Hatake Tsukumo's defeat is inevitable. Being mean is the passport of the mean, and being noble is the epitaph of the noble. How can a noble person deal with a despicable person? The more upright you are, the easier it is to deal with. The so-called victory of the Hokage family is just taking advantage of Hatake Tsukumo and not wanting Konoha to suffer because of it. That's what I admire about Hatake Tsukumo, but I will never be him. After saying these words, Uchiha Jin shut up completely. He said everything that needed to be said. If you continue talking, it will only make Shisui's heart more confused. Here it is, just right. Let him think about it for himself and talk about it after he understands it. Therefore, after finishing all this, Uchiha Jin just lay down on the sofa. Close your eyes and enjoy the sound of the waves and the golden rays of the sun above your head. On the other hand, on the other side, Shisui looked confused, his mind kept thinking. His whole body was dripping with cold sweat. Obviously, Shisui, who has a high IQ, is not as stubborn as Itachi. It wasn't difficult for him to accept it. But, the more I understand, he became increasingly pessimistic about the future of the Uchiha clan. What to do? He kept thinking about this matter, but couldn't get an answer for a long time. Time passes slowly. Shisui's face became paler and his eyes were filled with fear. As for Sarutobi Hiruzen, he was a bit in disbelief. Although what Uchiha-jin said were just some of his speculations, there was actually no evidence. But, it still doesn't work. For something as big as saving the tribe, he didn't dare to make any mistakes. Wait, Uchiha-jin. Yes, since this guy can think of this, why can't he do anything? Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated. Uchiha-jin, who immediately closed his eyes and enjoyed it, was shaken awake. Jin, wake up. You must have a solution, tell me quickly. Although I know that you have no feelings for the tribe because of the radical thing, but the same blood flows in everyone's body. How can you bear to watch your tribe being wiped out? Uchiha-jin, he never expected that Shisui would beg for him. Good guy, he didn't want to talk about it today. Because I definitely don't dare to say much about things like this for a while. After all, Shisui is not Nara Kazama. For such people, we can only guide them slowly. So, even if Shisui had already said that, he didn't want to say more now. Certainly, it's not a big problem to throw more dirty water on Sarutobi Hiruzen. Thinking of this, he immediately shook his head. Shisui, don't shake me. I'm just a kid, there's nothing I can do about it. The gap between Uchiha and Hokage is simply too big. Think about us Uchiha, we are arrogant, simple-minded, arrogant, stupid, and act like the boss of heaven, and Uchiha is the second child. It doesn't matter if you are stupid, the important thing is that you are stupid and don't know it. A posture in which you can fight against the sky, the earth, and the air just by relying on the glory of Uchiha. But they don't know that times have changed. In the Sengoku period, families were fighting on their own. As long as they were strong enough, they could dominate everything. But, what now? Since the establishment of Konoha, it has entered the era of villages. Even if Uchiha is powerful, everyone has already united. You think you only need to kill Sarutobi, but in fact, as soon as you do it, you will deal with Sarutobi, Shimura, Tensho, Mito, Ino Shikacho, Aburame, Inuzuka, plus a large number of civilians. Even if you learn from Hyuga, even if you look cowardly, it's just a loss of face. But Uchiha, no, actually, let alone the whole of Konoha, Uchiha is not something that Uchiha can fight against just one Sarutobi clan. You still thought it was the time when Konoha was founded, when Uchiha was the founding family, and Sarutobi just defected to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen has controlled the Hokage for so many years. Do you know how many ninjas there are in the Sarutobi clan now? More than 3,000, nearly 4,000 ninjas. Uchiha Kuhaha makes money by doing tasks. The Sarutobi family controls the village finances and uses the village finances to support their family every year. Today's Uchiha can only survive as a ninja of 600 to 700, right? And every time a war breaks out, ninjas from all races are consumed. How many ninjas from the Sarutobi clan have you seen on the battlefield? The Sarutobi clan of ninjas keeps expanding, but the Uchiha ninjas keep consuming. Can it be compared? Rebellion against the village to seize the Hokage. Isn't this ridiculous? With the 3,000 or 4,000 ninjas from the Sarutobi clan alone, what if the Uchiha clan can fight 1 against 3? Everyone can spray you to death with just one spit. Why did I hide my strength? Shisui, do you understand now? The Uchiha clan itself is a bunch of idiots, and there are many factions created by Fugaku, the useless clan leader. Now the clan cannot even achieve the most basic unity. How unbearable it is for me to follow such a powerful force. The Hokage series can't do it either. If you follow them around for those old silver coins, you will probably have to count the money for them if they are sold. I might as well just be honest and just do whatever I want. And I advise you to be more open-minded and stop worrying about so many useless things. Nothing is difficult in the world, as long as you know how to give up. Shisui rolled his eyes when he heard this. Give up. Even though he feels very confused now, he still doesn't have the option of giving up in his heart. But, same thing. After listening to Uchiha Jin's long speech, he instantly felt like his worldview was shattered. He never thought that the situation of the Uchiha clan had reached such a miserable state. Moreover, the Sarutobi clan. He thought of the scenes he had seen on the road several times before when he went to the Sarutobi clan to find Sarutobi Hiruzen and report about Uchiha. A densely packed house, densely packed with ninjas. At that time, he just sighed that it was indeed the Hokage-sama's family. What a boom. But, now that I think about it, yes. When Konoha was founded, the Sarutobi were just a small ethnic group. Sarutobi Hiruzen has only been a Hokage for a few years. Where did the Sarutobi clan get so much money? How could they produce so many ninjas all at once? Now, Jin told him the answer. The finances of the village. Think about Uchiha's guard. They live frugally every year, and the village rarely allocates money. So every year the daimyo allocates more than 2 billion yuan, but where does the village spend it? The village has not changed much. On the contrary, it is even more depressed than before. The reward for ninjas to do tasks is the tasks issued by the sponsor. Not only does the village not have to pay a penny, but it also gets a portion of each mission. Konoha Hospital, how much can that cost? Anbu is a place where money is spent, but 1 or 2 million a year is enough. Torture and interrogation department, mission hall, ninja school. It doesn't seem to cost much. In other words, every time the battlefield is opened, it costs a little too much to buy kunai, detonating charms and other materials. But, the problem is, every time a war starts, the daimyo will allocate special funds. So, here comes the problem. Where is the money? Even if Shisui didn't believe it in his heart, he knew that Lord Jin was indeed right. They all went into the pockets of a large number of ninjas headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen to train ninjas of their own clan. Why? Thinking of this, his face was filled with helplessness. Thinking about what he had done before, he even felt a little scared. Uchiha himself is terrible, yet he trusted such a Hokage. If it continues, the consequences will be unimaginable. Is there really nothing you can do? Shisui said quietly. Uchiha Jin just shrugged. I'm just a kid. I actually don't care what happens to the Uchiha clan. It's just that Shisui, you are so good to me, I don't want to see you die because you took the wrong path. You are my friend and I must save your life. Shisui smiled bitterly. He had never thought before that Jin, who he was so worried about and treated like a younger brother, would actually treat him like this in his heart. However, think about it. That seems to be the case. In front of Jin, he looked like a child. His previous thoughts seemed too idealistic. What to do? He knew that he could not change Jin's view of the clan for a while. But, same thing. He loves his tribe, and as a descendant of Uchiha Kagami, he must work hard in this regard. So after thinking for a moment, he continued to speak. Jin, I won't force you. But I have my own goals. If you consider me a friend, then give me some advice. What should I do? Yes. Seeing myself in front of me, I felt very confused. Suddenly he realized that the direction of his efforts was wrong. What he needed most now was to find a way to see the future. And, on the other side, Uchiha Jin was a little surprised. He really didn't expect that this time it would go so smoothly. Shisui is so easy to persuade. But, imagine Shisui in the original novel, there is really no one to trust. Even though there was a weasel who was considered a kindred spirit, he couldn't give him any advice. On the contrary, Uchiha Itachi, you still have to rely on him for guidance. Now that he has himself, although Shisui is kind and works for the family, he is not extreme. As long as what you say makes sense, then he is willing to listen. From this aspect, he is much better than Itachi, the filial son. Shisui, it's difficult, Uchiha sighed. Today's Uchiha can only stand up if it is broken. But, about this, Shisui just shook his head. I don't care, as long as there is a way. This, okay, Uchiha-jin, ponder for a moment. After thinking for a moment, he slowly spoke. If you want to completely change Uchiha, the first thing is to integrate the voices within the clan. At least there must be only one voice. If you want to do this, you must have your own power, so that you are qualified to compete with the other two factions. What you have to do now is, Just like radicals and moderates, find an idea that suits you, an idea that others can agree with. The first step is the hardest. But after you achieve this step, the next step is not difficult, but you have to be ruthless. Because you need to divide and win over, and use all conspiracies and tricks to eliminate the other two factions and strengthen your own faction. Including but not limited to frame up, public opinion attacks, deliberately provoking fights, etc. For example, through a small matter, you can use public opinion to start a fight between two factions. At a critical moment, you can assassinate one of them, and then put the blame on the other faction so that they have to fight. When they fight to the point of losing both sides, you secretly guarantee that all the leaders of the two factions will accidentally die. Even if they don't die, they will be disabled. Then mobilize public opinion, just like we did with Hitaki Tsukumo, and completely stink them. Finally clean up the mess, swallow up the other two factions, and finally force Fugaku to abdicate. When you completely unite Uchiha, you will be barely qualified to negotiate with the village. As for the others, let's wait until you get this far. Shisui, trembling all over. His scalp felt numb when he heard it, and his brain went completely blank. Yes, he wanted to change the family, but he was unwilling to use this method. Isn't this too cruel? Shisui couldn't help but said. It has to be like this, can't it be gentler? Uchiha Jin rolled his eyes. This is a struggle. Shisui, I hope you understand that the struggle for power is not a treat. If you want to hold on to Uchiha's power, you will destroy other people's jobs. They are going to fight you tooth and nail. This is a life and death struggle. If you don't have this determination, I still advise you to give up immediately. If you are kind in power struggles, Hitaki Tsukumo will serve as a lesson to you. There is no right or wrong in this kind of struggle, the winner takes all. Please like and subscribe.